Let me run up my ID because it should be. Can you that they do not the American Red Cross presentation on this? Can you give them okay, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this morning's Mojave County Board of Supervisors meeting on October 20th, 2025. We're going to start the meeting with an invocation by Pastor Bill Franson, and if you would remain standing, Supervisor Martin is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, supervisors, and guests. Heavenly Father, we come before you right now to lift up this meeting, Father, to take the supervisors, that they'll be able to take care of the business that is necessary for the county. I pray, Father, for all the guests that are here, that when they when they give their opinions and stuff, Lord, that it'll be peaceful, that it'll be a peaceful meeting, and the work will get done. Father, bless this, especially bless this meeting of the work of the county. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
The Board of Supervisors may, by motion, recess into executive session to receive legal advice from the board's attorneys on any item contained in this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03 A34 and 7. Looking for a motion and action to call for an executive session to be held on November 3rd, 2025 at 9 a.m.
So moved.
With that motion second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes appear to have it, do have it, so ordered. Thank you. We'll move to the official business to come before the board. Item number 1, discussion of pending or contemplated litigation claims and demands. Attorney Davis.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Nothing to report.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to committee and or legislative reports. We'll start with Supervisor Letman this morning.
I have no report.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Martin.
Yeah, I just want to
let everybody know Supervisor Lincolnfelter and I attended the Nucor dedication of $100 million process that they have out there. This represents a huge commitment on that company to Mojave County and will provide additional high-paying jobs, and just, it's a good company. They're a faith-based company, and I'll tell you what, I listen to a lot of companies talk about their people. There's no employees at Nucor. They are team members, and they take care of each other out there, and it's a great organization. So I was pleased to be out there, and I had a good time out there. It was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Letman and I attended on Friday afternoon the dedication at the Mojave Valley Park of the ADA playground and the field lighting that were partially paid for with the county share of ARPA money. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Borelli, anything to report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I met with, on Friday, I met with one of the directors for Western States, one of the president's direct council people on Mojave County issues, Western lands, and so on and so forth. And this afternoon, of course, we have a time change. I'm meeting with the Department of Interior and the Bureau of Land Management this afternoon, and hopefully with Senator, not Senator, Director Kennedy this evening. So hopefully I have a hard stop here at 10:30 Arizona time, so I have to go to that meeting.
Appreciate your advocacy back east. Thank you, Supervisor. I attended this last weekend Apache County, Navajo County groundwater forum to represent Mojave County's groundwater issues. It was a good forum. It was put on by the American Groundwater Trust, and they're going to be doing their big annual event in Phoenix in January. If anybody is interested in attending that, there's a lot of great speakers. Data, science, all the stuff that goes into groundwater being such a hot topic in Arizona today. With that, we'll go to the county manager's report. Manager Elters, thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. I do not have a report today.
Thank you very much. Due to Supervisor Borelli's schedule, and he has a meeting, I think, at 1400 hours today, he's requested to me as the chairman that we bump up item number 49 and item number 54, which has to do with medical examiner services. If Manager Elters, you or your staff want to kick that off, we also have a few people that have signed up to speak on this item, number 49. So we'll go to those after staff presents, and then we'll go into discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That sounds like a good plan, and I will ask Tara to step up and proceed with the presentation.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. So item 49 is the culmination of the new RFP process for medical examiner services. The board directed us back in April to extend our existing contract through the end of this year with the expectation that we would get a new RFP in place and an award recommendation with the contract effective January 1, 2026. This is the final result of that process, with the committee recommending award to Serenity, who is the incumbent, for $87,500 monthly for the initial one-year term, with the option to renew for up to 4 additional one-year terms.
If that's the end of your presentation, then we'll go into public comment. Thank you, Tara.
You're welcome.
I'm sure we'll have questions from the board later. First to speak is Mr. Scotty McClure. If you'd like to come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record.
Scotty from Bullhead. Well, after 5 or 6 years, we're here again. And I'll bet you nothing gets solved today. I remember a few years ago, this whole row here was full of women, morticians, all dressed in black and high heels, asking about the dead bodies. Did we ever find those? The missing dead bodies? Remember that? Still ain't figured that out. I tried to get a hold of Carolyn Schweikert. She's the only one that probably in this audience that knows about what this really entails, what we really need, but she was working. She does 7 at night to 7 in the morning, and I'm not going to call her at 7:30 when she should be sleeping. So I see we got a couple more people here in 49. I don't know. I've been listening to this for hours and hours, and every time I attend this, we seem to be kicking the can down the road. So since I know nothing about this, I'm not going to comment on 54 when you call me. So, I mean, that's it. I don't think you're going to solve anything today anyway, so.
Jennifer Esposito. Dr. Daniel Sudolowski, you're on deck.
Thank you, Jennifer Esposito, Kingman. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now, you know, when the medical examiner's office is such a hot mess that even Fox News out in Phoenix has covered it multiple times, we should probably try and not further embarrass ourselves on the public stage when we have other options. I understand, you know, that this board, as it sits currently, is not the board that was here last year or the year before or, you know, during all of this. But I think we really need to, you know, look at the other people who are willing to do this job and give them the option to try it for a year. I mean, it's pretty bad when I can just ask Grok AI, and even Grok knows. Okay, Grok says he is not a licensed medical examiner or forensic pathologist, but manages operations partnering with pathologists for autopsies. This unorthodox arrangement, unique in Arizona, has sparked multiple scandals and investigations, primarily driven by complaints from competing funeral homes, former employees, and county officials. I mean, you know, literally AI, a simple, you know, search yields the fact that this has been an ongoing problem. So renewing the contract for the guy who has been an embarrassment and a cause of aggravation for multiple tax-paying families of deceased loved ones in this county is not a good idea. You shouldn't do it. You should explore all other options unless this is the only possible option left and no one else wanted to do the job. But apparently, other people are willing to do the job, maybe even for less money. But this is a lot of money. You're talking about $87,000 a month. So in the interest of the taxpayers, let's not continue to repeat the same mistake that previous boards have made over and over. Thank you.
Dr. Daniel Sudolowski. Is there a Dr. Sudolowski in the auditorium? Okay. We'll go into discussion now. I'd open it up to the board. Supervisor Letman, thank you.
Director Acton, could you kind of tell us your point of view about the historical performance of the incumbent right now? And then secondly, if you would also address the issue of how the RFP actually operated and how you came to the high-level version and how you came to the conclusion that you did.
Okay, so Chairman Linkfelter, Supervisor Letman, I don't know that I can necessarily speak to the performance of the contract. That would be something that perhaps Director Palmer would be best to speak to. What I can speak to is from a contract perspective, anytime issues were brought up, whether in a public setting or directly to the public health department, when it related to contractual performance or issues, when there was a factual basis and actual claims behind those, we did, as we would with any contractor, reach out to the contractor and ask them to either explain what happened and explain how those things would not happen again. Anytime we've had issues, I know that one speaker talked about missing dead bodies. We were able to clarify that there was some math errors based on what was being reported in a database and what the actual month-to-month numbers were. It was just about when totals were taken. When it comes to response times, anything like that, when we had real issues with the medical examiner's performance, we brought those to the contractor, and they either corrected them if it was something that could actually be corrected in the moment, or if it was something that the mistake was made and it was done, they acknowledged the mistake and shared with us their plan to correct that action moving forward so that things like that would not happen again. I don't have specific examples, but I am aware that we've worked with the public health department to manage the performance as we would with any contract. As far as this RFP, I guess the high level is we did multiple reports to the board when we were exploring taking medical examiner services in-house. Ultimately, the board's direction in April from items agendized by you, Supervisor Letman, was that we would extend the contract through the end of this calendar year, and then we were directed as staff to do an RFP. There was lots of discussion about preferences of how we do that or how we could change it. The ultimate motion that was made by the board in April was for us to go out to bid with a new RFP that factored in the requirements of state statute to make sure that we were very clear on what those requirements were, and that the services would start in January of 2026. And then the other caveat in that motion in April 7th was that that we would have the scope of work reviewed by another ME or somebody in the field with forensic pathology. We endeavored to do that in July. We came back to the board because we had originally anticipated publishing the end of June, beginning of July. Unfortunately, due to potential conflicts of interest for those that are currently providing locum services to us or that might have an interest in our RFP, we weren't able to find anyone that was willing from a medical perspective to review our scope of work. However, we were able to get a former state public health official to review the scope of work and give us any feedback or any changes. So during that meeting in July, I came back to the board to explain that we weren't able to accomplish a medical examiner review, but to ask permission to publish based on the review that we did receive. We published the solicitation, I want to say the very next day after the board meeting. I think it may have been July 7th or July 8th. We did have a pre-bid. We had multiple attend the pre-bid. Actually, all three who ended up offering attended the pre-bid. And we got 3 submittals, took that through an evaluation committee, made sure that the scoring was in line with the criteria set in the solicitation, made sure that there were strong comments because we recognize that this has become a very visible RFP process and that there are a lot of opinions out there about how Mojave County handles medical examiner services. And so I think if you've reviewed the backup, there's a lot more in the backup than there probably normally is because we charged the committee with making sure that whatever score they recommended to this board would be defendable. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't necessarily care who provides medical examiner services to the county, so long as we go through a fair process and anyone who has the opportunity can offer. I think we've shown that was possible. As I explained, we did have 3 offers. We had 2 that were very close, primarily because they were very close in price when it came to scoring. And then we had another one that was just a lot more expensive for their offer. I think they provide a great service to medical examiner offices, but they didn't really have the full scope of what we needed. And so ultimately, the recommendation of this committee is that we move forward with a new award. This is not a contract renewal, but a new award for a 1-year contract for medical examiner services with the option to renew that contract in 1-year increments for up to a total of 5 years. Was that good enough?
Well, the obvious follow-up question, you're recommending Serenity Memorial Group. Are they going to be in compliance with all state statutes?
Yes, and one of the things that I think it was Supervisor Gould specifically in some conversations had shared that one of the things he didn't like about, and we've heard the word unorthodox method, was that we didn't specifically name somebody as the medical examiner. That was one of the changes that we made in the RFP, is that anyone who offered had to specifically tell us who they would name as the medical examiner. If there was anywhere that you might be able to argue that we weren't 100% in compliance with statute, and I think that that's a loose argument. It would be that we didn't actually have someone named as the medical examiner, so we've addressed that in this one. Most of the solicitation just refers back to state statute as to what's required to be qualified to be a medical examiner in this state.
Okay. I have a follow-up question for Director Palmer.
Director Palmer, could you come to the podium, please? Thank you. Morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Board.
Director Palmer, could we have a brief summary of your point of view on the performance of the incumbent?
The incumbent, anytime that there's been an issue, they have put in some sort of quality improvement process. So everything from reporting times to things out in the field, any type of feedback we have for them, they do take it seriously, and then they take action the best they can.
Thank you.
Other comments from the board? Supervisor Martin.
Melissa, hold on a second.
I want to stay in the front row there.
In regards to our current medical guys, have you had any legal complaints about their operation?
I have not.
And have you received any information from like the sheriff's office or other organizations that deal with this kind of stuff? Has there been any complaints on that?
Not to the medical examiner. We do get feedback from law enforcement on response times of funeral homes and anybody on the rotation list. And they do play a role in that, because when they have an investigator on the scene, sometimes they will have their investigator hang back so that law enforcement can be relieved. But that's the only feedback I've received from law enforcement.
In your opinion, has the working relationship been good between like law enforcement and our current medical examiner?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll go ahead and go. Obviously, I only speak as one member of this board for District 1, but I'm going to read something into the record just so everybody that has been following this, it's kind of been a recap. I've been one of the two board members from the last board that was involved with this. And I want to say that my objections to this model of providing medical examiner services to Mojave County, which no other county, I believe, in the state of Arizona is using, have remained consistent and unchanged since it was first presented to the Board of Supervisors back in 2021. I originally voted in favor of approving that contract in 2021 because at that time, staff represented to the board that it was a temporary fix, that there was no other physician willing to directly contract for medical examiner services, and that during the initial 3-year term, staff would research and pursue a permanent solution to return the county to the best practice established model of a direct contract with a qualified physician. Unfortunately, no work, or very little work, I would say, was completed during that 3-year period to progress towards that goal, which led the former Board of Supervisors to direct staff to issue another request for proposals in 2024 to test the private sector market and determine whether a qualified physician would now be willing to directly contract with Mojave County for ME services. From that process, staff recommended making the unorthodox model permanent for another 3 years. That was in August of 2024. A majority of the prior Board of Supervisors rejected that recommendation, stating that the board's desired direction was to return to the best practice established model used by every other county in Arizona. The board then voted to deny the recommendation in 2024, making clear that a direct physician contract remained the goal. Following that August 2024 vote, the county continued on a month-to-month basis with the current provider, Serenity Memorial Services, with the provider publicly committing to helping the county transition back to the best practice model in the future, where the county contracts directly with a licensed physician for ME services, as Mojave County has always done prior to 2021, and as all other 14 counties continue to do so today. Then in early 2025, the new Board of Supervisors and staff held in-depth public discussion regarding costs to bring services in-house versus contracting the services. We had discussion about RFP scope of services and any requested changes to the professional standards for medical examiner services. During those discussions, I once again stated that Mojave County should return to the best practice model of having a direct contract with a physician for medical examiner services, which is consistent with the model used throughout the state. I also raised concerns regarding autopsy timelines. According to the National Association of Medical Examiners, or NAME, timely completion of autopsy examinations is a fundamental performance benchmark. NAME's Forensic Autopsy Performance Standards emphasize that the autopsy examination itself should be performed as soon as possible following death, ideally within 24 to 72 hours, to preserve medical evidence and provide timely information to families and law enforcement. Based on those best practices, I stated that all autopsies in Mojave County should be completed within a 72-hour time window, which is absolutely possible. The board further requested that the county engage a qualified external physician or independent medical association to review and validate the proposed scope of services to ensure it aligned with national standards and community needs. Staff later reported that such an external review could not be completed as directed by the board, but I did forget about the limited review that we did get. Consequently, a majority of the board reluctantly authorized yet another RFP to once again test the private market and determine whether any physicians would be willing to directly contract with the county for these services. In reviewing the scope of work for this most recent 2025 RFP, I noted that the professional qualification requirements seem to have been loosened compared to the 2024 version of the RFP. And after reviewing and comparing the official Mojave County request for proposals for medical examiner services, the 2024 RFP and the 2025 RFP, there seem to be clear and material differences in the scope of services in the section titled Professional Qualifications. In the 2024 RFP, it effectively required that the designated medical examiner already be a licensed physician in the state of Arizona and a board-certified forensic pathologist, consistent with established practice and with the National Association of Medical Examiners' recommended standards for professional qualifications. The 2024 solicitation and its associated proposals referenced certified forensic pathologists and ABMDI certified death investigators, both considered essential credentials under NAME guidelines. The 2025 RFP, page 5, Qualifications and Experience, explicitly and materially broadened eligibility by stating, Mojave County will accept proposals from qualified firms with physicians not licensed in Arizona. However, should the firm be awarded the medical examiner contract, the physicians will be required to obtain an Arizona license as soon as one can be issued by the licensing entity. While awaiting Arizona licensure, the physician will be required to work under an Arizona licensed physician. This alternative language represents a clear and material loosening of the professional qualification standards from the prior RFP in 2024. Under that 2024 solicitation, the performing physician was already expected to hold Arizona licensure and board certification in forensic pathology at the time of submission. The 2025 RFP removed that requirement and instead allows an unlicensed physician to be awarded the contract or a third party, provided they obtain an Arizona license later and temporarily operate under another physician's license. According to the National Association of Medical Examiners Accreditation and Inspection Checklist, section A2.1, that states that the office of the medical examiner shall be directed by a physician who is board certified in forensic pathology and licensed to practice medicine in the jurisdiction of service. The 2025 RFP's allowance for an unlicensed physician to perform medical examiner duties under supervision is not consistent with this national best practice standard. Additionally concerning to me, rather than requiring all autopsies to be completed within 72 hours in accordance with NAME best practice standards, the allowable turnaround time for autopsies in the 2025 RFP was broadened to as long as 10 days. And I think that prior to that, we had received testimony that average turnaround time was 5 days. That material change moves the county further away from recognized NAME best practices and standards rather than closer to them. In summary, while the 2025 solicitation means the same basic scope of services as 2024, it does broaden and relax the professional qualification requirements, in my opinion, in a manner that diverges from the recognized standards of the National Association of Medical Examiners. Had I known in 2021 that this so-called temporary unorthodox model was, when it was first proposed, that would still be operating under that same model in late 2025, I never would have voted to approve that first contract. I also find it important to note 2 points for the public record, and this was just things that in my review, popped out at me. First, the same selection committee was used, I believe, for both of the RFP for 2024 and 2025. In the 2024 RFP, the committee rated the physician group, Monolith Forensics, higher on combined qualifications and experience and method of approach with a score of 63 points, compared to the current provider's lower score of 61.3 points. In that solicitation, price was the determining factor in staff's August 2024 award recommendation to the current provider. In the 2025 RFP, the same selection committee reversed the combined ranking on qualifications and experience and method of approach, assigning Monolith Forensics a score of 63.6 points and Serenity Memorial a higher combined score of 66.6 points. Both firms received identical scoring for their method of approach at 30.8 points each and identical scoring for price at 25 points each. The only difference in the cumulative scoring for the 2025 RFP was that Serenity Memorial was now rated higher for qualifications and experience. I found that notable because unless one is an actual physician or a certified death investigator, I believe there is little contractual value added in providing these specialized professional services. Second, I thought it was notable that the current provider's monthly charge under the contract, which expired in in 2024, I'll say, which has continued on a month-to-month basis since, is $92,500 per month for medical examiner services. Another fully qualified physician group submitted their proposal to the 2025 RFP per the published documents. In the backup, it's $87,500 per month. And 1 day later, the current provider submitted a proposal which slashed $60,000 annually off of their current fee to submit the same exact pricing down to the penny of $87,500. In my years of public service, I've never seen that before on these types of services. So since 2021, all of my concerns and reservations about this, it is an unorthodox model, have been absolutely consistent and unchanged. I believe the citizens of Mojave County deserve medical examiner services that are performed under a direct physician contract that meet or exceed National Association of Medical Examiners best practices and standards, and that ensure timely, professional, and transparent delivery of services, including all autopsies performed and completed within a maximum window of 72 hours. For these reasons, I will be voting no today, as I believe doing so is in the best interest of the public. And that's all I have from District 1. I'd open it up to the other board members. Supervisor Gould.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe that your statement was true and that was a true timeline of the events as they transpired, and I agree with your statements. So, Tara, we had one contractor bid $87,500 a month, and we had Monolith bid the identical number. Enlighten the public on how the process works then.
Appreciate that. So ultimately, I think the question that you're getting at is when the sealed bid process, the sealed proposal process, the way that our software works now that we've moved to an e-procurement software is there are controls that are in place by the software that even my staff cannot view the responses. And so when somebody downloads a solicitation, decides that they're going to respond, and either answers things directly in a questionnaire or answers by uploading documents, only the person creating that submittal can see it. And then when they release it to us, when they submit their response, it is in a held document that we cannot see. So it will show within the database the timestamp. So Chairman Lincolnfelter had requested that I provide that background to him, but essentially one day, I think both Monolith and Forensic Pathology Services, I think they submitted on the same day, which was the day before responses were due. And then Serenity Memorial submitted the following morning, I believe. All of those, the only requirement we have is that you do it prior to the deadline. Our software is developed in such a way that it secures those documents, and that at exactly 2 p.m., which is the response deadline that we set, the OpenGov bot, I've shared this back up with the board, and I can share it with this group if needed. it closes the opportunity for anyone else to respond. So when you look at the background of the software, it shows that the OpenGov bot moved it from an open solicitation to pending evaluation. And then at like 2:04, I believe, was the time that a member of my staff, Teresa Garrett, the procurement officer responsible for this one, is when she actually clicked through the disclosure documents, that it was confidential, that she wouldn't share any information outside of evaluation purposes until it became public record. And then that is when they actually become unsealed, and she can review them and release them to committee members. So I share Chairman Linkenfelter's initial, it seems weird to see the same price from two offerers, but I don't believe that there's any way within our system or with county staff that information, I know there is no way that within the system or county staff that information could be shared. It is a small market, so I don't know if there's a chance that perhaps they could be talking within the overall forensic pathology field as to maybe what might be offered internally, but that is something that happens at the vendor level. If this were a hard bid, I'd be a lot more concerned, because those types of conversations would lead to questions about bid rigging or collusion. But ultimately, because this is a best value analysis, essentially by both firms offering the same price, I won't say it eliminated price from a factor, because price was the primary factor that kept the third offerer from being considered. But when it came down to the top two offers, it eliminated price from being a factor. I don't think that anything suspicious happened. Ultimately, the prior price being paid was public information, is public information. If you just do the math, I think it's a 5% reduction. So my assumptions are that both said we want a competitive price. What is a competitive price that we can offer and still maintain these services, provide these services? And I just think they both did the same math.
Thank you for that, but that was not what I wanted information about. I wanted information since we had a tie. Then it becomes subjective.
How we handle the tie?
How do you handle the tie?
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. So when we have a specific price, and it's not just a unit price or and it's not just a requirements contract, but like a set hard price, my staff does the price evaluation. And to keep it as simple as possible, the firm that offers the best price gets all of the points available, and then every other firm is a comparison to that. So you take the best price divided by, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. Whoever's the offer's price divided by the best price times the amount of points available. So for both Monolith and Serenity, they received all of the price points available. I think it was 25 total points, where the other firm that was substantially higher, we did the math on that one, and they got 11 out of 25 points. But it really is just a factor of, to keep it as simple as possible, if you charge me $25 and Chairman Linkenfelter charged me $20, you'd get 25 points, he'd get 20 points.
More so, you also have some subjective things where, but apparently there's a committee that makes this decision.
Not the price decision. So my staff does the scoring for price, and we share that with the committee. When it comes to the other factors that were evaluated, qualifications and experience and method of approach, we had a committee of 5 members, high-ranking management officials. I will say, Chairman Linkenfelter, it was not the exact same committee. It was committee representation from the same departments, because those are the departments that are customers of the medical examiner services. And so they are most likely to be the subject matter experts in how those services work. But the committee is something that, as the procurement director, it's my responsibility to make sure that we appoint a qualified committee. And yes, a committee of 5 scored. That's provided in the background, their scores and their comments. We don't share the names of the committee members, just primarily to protect the integrity of the process, being that we are a small organization. You know, I don't need somebody being stopped in Walmart because they were the reason that somebody perceives they didn't get an award for a contract. And so it really is to just try and protect the integrity of the process so that people aren't fearful of serving on committees for us, or so that their scores aren't influenced by any kind of political stress.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because I'm the guy that my people in my district voted to stop in Walmart and ask them questions about that. And I just disagree with this process. because I think that the feeling that politicians are scoundrels and that bureaucrats are somehow saints, I think that's flawed logic, because man's heart is desperately wicked. So you can have corruption at all levels. But I'm the one that ran for office to take the heat, and I'm the one that's accountable to the voters to get thrown out of office if they don't like my decisions. I think that we need to move this decision-making process back to the Board of Supervisors and away from staff, because we're the ones that the voters can throw out of office. But that's a sidebar comment, and we voted for that. It was buried in, I believe, a 108-page document that we voted on back in the spring, which renewed it from 2005. I think it's a flawed process, and we need to move away from that and let the supervisors make these decisions. I'm the one that gets the complaints. I'm the one that gets pulled over by medical examiner vans on the highway when they're running their lights and speeding down the highway. I'm the one that gets the calls about ladies' daughters laying on the driveway that don't get autopsies done, that don't have blood work done, and they don't get closure. And I'm angry that this decision has been taken away from me, and I have a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I don't get to use anything subjective. I'm dissatisfied with the performance of this contractor. I don't want to give this contractor the contract because of his poor performance. But due to the process, I can only do thumbs up and thumbs down. And that has me quite angry. And I just wanted to let the board know that and let the public know that. And my anger is not towards you. You just happen to be standing at the podium.
I appreciate that. I was going to say, do you expect a response from me, Supervisor?
No, it's rhetorical.
And I will the RFP process, the code, it's based on the model ABA. As you said, it's probably, I think you're right, it's probably about a 105-page document. It substantially has not changed since 2005. It's based on the model ABA procurement code. And I don't disagree that politicians, bureaucrats, we all could be corrupt. My goal and my role is to make the process as transparent as possible, so that if somebody does feel like there was corruption from either an elected official or somebody that may have been on the committee, they have a path to protest the recommendation and ask for us to look into that more in depth. But we weren't hiding anything from you in that review. It was basically, instead of just changing things and trying to piece it all together, saying replace the entire procurement code, but we've made no changes to the RFP process in 20 years, that it is based on the model procurement code, which is very similar to state statute.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Supervisor Lettman, thank you.
Can we have I'd like to follow up to Supervisor Martin's question. Do we have a representative of the county attorney's office available to us?
Attorney Davis, are you our representative of the county attorney's office?
He works for the supervisors. But
I don't think, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Lemon, if I'm reading where Supervisor Lemon's comments are going, I don't think I have the expertise to be able to answer as to what degree the county attorney's office requires.
My follow-up question basically we've asked the public health director what her opinion was of performance. What's the county attorney's office opinion of performance, since the medical examiner plays such a key role in some cases that they're faced with? And I don't know if we have somebody from county attorney's office to follow up on that question.
It's a fair question. Madam Clerk, anybody that deals at the county attorney's office that deals with these services, are they on the line, or do we not have that available?
I am looking.
Never hurts to ask. They're probably in court today.
I see that Mr. Shopman, he accepted, but I'm requesting him to join. I don't know if that will help.
Okay. Might not be able to have anybody answer their question, but.
I also have, we do have the sheriff online, if you wanted to take it from that. Oh, and also Kip Anderson. Are you available, Kip?
Yes, I am. I'm online. If there's something I can answer, I see James is online. He might be better to answer than myself.
Okay.
Yeah, Attorney Shopman would be better suited, or the sheriff. I think they both deal with these services.
Mr. Shopman, are you available?
Yes, I'm available. I apologize. I just got back from court and I don't know the question.
I'd like to repeat your question, Supervisor Letman. Thank you.
Mr. Shopman, it's Supervisor Letman. The question I had, we're currently evaluating, we're discussing the award for a new contract for the medical examiner, and Supervisor Martin had posed a question about the review of the performance of the incumbent relative to law enforcement, and my follow-up question was, do we have, and I know this is a very quick question without much notice in advance, what's your evaluation, if any, of the performance of the medical examiner's office relative to the cases you have to process? Is there something that stands out that's just glaringly bad?
Chairman, Supervisor Letman, I have no complaints regarding the current services. I am not aware of anything that is glaringly bad. Generally, no news is good news. We've had successful prosecutions with the medical providers that are used in the current situation, some of the contract pathologists. And so I would just defer to the good judgment of the Board of Supervisors. I also have positive interactions with one of the other submittees. Hope that answers your question.
It does.
All right, thank you. Any other follow-up questions? Supervisor Martin, thank you.
Yeah, I read this entire file on this and the business about the evaluation by the committee. I think that's a good process. If I understood Tara's response that the 2024 or before group was not the same group that did this one, am I right or am I wrong?
There was some overlap, so some evaluators were the same, some were not. They did represent the same departments within the county.
Okay. I find it kind of interesting that two members of the board who previously voted for contracts with Serenity over the years, they've been on this board way longer than any of the other ones, and they voted for their contracts, and now they're saying they're against it. And I find that kind of interesting. But I will say this: I read that whole file, what the process was. I heard the comments and the responses, and I feel comfortable that in this case, I don't think it's broke, and so I see no need to fix it. So that would be my comment on this.
Supervisor Gould, you had a point of order?
I do. In regards to my mic on. In regards to how I make a decision, I voted for something that was put at the dais at the 11th hour when I was told that Dr. Mosley was going to retire and we would be left with no one. And that was the only option that staff brought forward, was this unorthodox method of doing it. Since that time, I've found out more information. I have more information today than I had 3 years ago. So my opinion on this has changed. That's how I make decisions. I make a decision, we run with that decision, I gather the information from that decision, and I might change path at a later date. I'm sorry if you don't understand that, Supervisor Martin. That's fine, but that's how I make a decision, because today I have more information than I had yesterday. Thank you, Chairman.
I would also like to respond, being that I did vote for the initial contract for this model in 2021. But again, as I mentioned in my comments, the reason I voted for that initial contract in 2021 is because it was brought to us at a very late hour. We were told that there was absolutely no other option, that there were no physicians willing to directly contract with the County of Mojave for those services in 2021, and that during the 3-year period of the contract, that staff would work on bringing the county back to the model of having a direct contract with a physician. And so with all of those things, I said, okay, I will trust and vote in favor of allowing you that 3-year period to get us back to where I believe best serves the citizens of Mojave County. And that did not happen. And this unorthodox model has been perpetuated for far longer than I ever thought it would be when I voted in 2021. And that's why I voted for that initial contract. And then if you look at my voting record since that time, I've not voted to support that. Supervisor Levin.
Tara, a quick question for you. This is a 1-year contract. Who has the right to extend it?
Chairman Linkenfelter, Supervisor Letman. It's a 1-year contract. It would be handled like any of our contracts where we would work with the departments and determine if they had an interest in renewing, but ultimately that renewal would come back to the board for the board's approval.
So both parties have to renew it.
It's one of those weird things. So the term itself says that it's at the county's sole option that we renew. But in practice, I've been doing this for 15 years. For the last 15 years, we've done a mutual agreement amending the contract to renew, where the chairman of the board signs the amendment. Some agencies have interpreted that at the sole right of the agency to mean they could do unilateral amendments and not require a vendor signature. I don't see us changing our practice on that. If we did, it would mean the vendor didn't sign, but the chairman would still sign the renewal.
Thank you.
Open it up to the board for additional discussion. Supervisor Martin, thank you.
Yes, I noticed that Mr. Hassett is here in the building here. I would like to hear from him. I really would. Mr. Hassett, would you be willing to come down here and speak to this?
Morning, Mr. Hassett.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisors. Yes, Supervisor Martin, I'd be happy to speak to it. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to answer or make a statement to Supervisor Gould's comment. You know, for many years, I've stood up here and essentially been berated by people who've sat at these chairs, not staff, and in addition to some supervisors. And if I made a mistake or my department made a mistake, I will absolutely own it and alter or fix anything that needs to be fixed. I stood here at this podium on record and stated that the particular case that you're referencing, that my office did not do blood work or did not perform services, I had an answer. I encouraged every supervisor to reach out to my office. We talked about it. Your office did not, and I never talked with you on it. So the statement of we failed to do our job or run blood work or something along those lines, I really truly think it should be retracted. Did you reach out to my office for further information after that meeting?
Supervisor Gould, thank you.
I'm not here to answer your questions. Okay. I'm not here to be interrogated by you, and I get to have my own opinion.
Absolutely.
I'm dissatisfied with the performance of your company.
And that's fine. As you have that right.
I don't have to reach out to you. I can listen to what the people say and do my own research from the health department.
You absolutely can, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Supervisor Martin?
Sir, I appreciate, and I've been, even before I was a supervisor, I attended these meetings. I have listened to you in prior times when you got up and talked about your operations. So it's not just based upon what I've seen from January. It's something I've seen from your organization in the past. And like I say, I understand there's reasons and excuses that can be made why people change their minds and stuff. But I'll just say this. I appreciate that you stepped up at a time when the county was in dire circumstances and offered a service. And I think that my personal feeling is you have fulfilled that obligation, not only in an emergency situation, but in a situation going forward. So I don't know what's going to happen here, but I will just say I don't see any problem with your organization and the way that you have handled the medical examiner's office. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Supervisor.
Mr. Hassett, I will qualify my statements. I don't have anything against you or your company. It's much larger than broader than that for me. For me, it's an unorthodox model, and the reason I voted for it in 2021 is because we didn't have any physicians at the time that were willing to directly contract with the county, as we have forever, and how every other county does, and so we went to this model. To me, it's not just your company. It's again, as I said in my statements, unless you're a physician or a medical investigator, I don't see there's a lot of value added to add a administrative third party to this process. And that's just my opinion, and you don't have to agree with that. It would be the same if we had a contract for engineering services, and no engineer wanted to do a direct contract with us. So we had an administrative firm said, well, I'll take the contract, and then I'll go out and I'll second party get a contract with an engineer to do your engineer contract. To me, it's sort of equivalent. And you stepped up at a time when we didn't have any other physicians. I'm a little confused years later that we do have physicians now that seem to want this contract, but we're still rating this unorthodox model higher than we are with physicians that want a direct contract. And that's just my opinion, and you don't have to agree with it, but I do appreciate all that you've done for the county.
I appreciate that statement, and I do agree with you, Mr. Chair. You and I have seen eye to eye and agreed since the moment this contract started in the aspect of Mojave County, and I say this meaning the supervisors, right? Like, you can instruct staff to do whatever you want to do, and you have, and they have. They've put together proposals on taking these things in-house, from the staff to the building to the construction. You and I have agreed, and we've seen eye to eye since day one on this model. Unfortunately, as we come to the culmination of our contract of 4 years, little to no progress has been made on Mojave County taking these services in-house. I do understand and agree with you that it is a little strange from a middleman, if you will, and these other individuals, although they will need to contract out forensic services to other doctors or other providers, just like we do, I understand and I do agree with your statements. And I hope that Mojave County can at some point, the supervisors, direct to take these things in-house as it should be. We are a large county. I know we're not as large as some of the other ones, but we do need to get it done, and it's something that needs to happen. Not just earmarking the money, we actually have to follow through, and when a staff member makes a presentation, we need to make a move on it, make a decision, and get things going. So thank you very much
for your comments. Any other comments for Mr. Hassett when we have him at the podium? Anybody have any other questions for him? I'd have
yeah.
If we have nothing, I have a question for Tara, if I could.
Thank you very much.
Tara, when it comes to
do you need me for anything further? Or
I don't believe we do, but if we do, we'll call you back. Thank you for being in attendance today. We appreciate it. Can you explain? So we had testimony that autopsies were happening in an average of 5 days. Then we have the name standard, which we've talked about several times during our meetings. And then the scope of work actually broadened that to you have to complete autopsies within 10 days. Can you explain where that came from?
I can explain the logic behind it, Chairman. I may ask Melissa to support me in this, but we did look at the name standard. I don't know if it's NAME or NAME. And although I do see it as a best practice, there are lots of best practices that operationally don't work or not achievable. An example from the procurement world, a best practice is that I sign all contracts and that no board members are involved at all. That doesn't work for us operationally. And so although it's a best practice, we haven't adopted it. And so we did look at a lot of the name standards as best practices. The name standard 48 to 72 hours for the autopsy. I believe that when we were reviewing the scope of work, initially, I don't think we had any time frame requirements in the prior scope of work. And so we did not want to eliminate competition. We did not want to put an unreasonable standard in a contractual document. And so my understanding is that public health had reached out to other counties to see when they were accomplishing that. And I think it probably would be appropriate to address the unorthodox model that Mojave County uses Not all counties contract out medical examiner services. Some of them have in-house. Those ones that do contract out are actually mostly doing IGAs with other counties. So I think any solution that we have is unorthodox. Whether we're awarding directly to a forensic pathologist or somebody who's managing it. But ultimately, what we arrived at is that none of them were achieving the standard of the 48 to 72 hours. And so 5 days seems to be where that is happening. I will say that in the offer that we've presented to you from Serenity Memorial, their commitment, although it's not that they will accomplish the evaluate or the autopsies earlier than the minimum contractual requirements, they do have the preliminary reports will go to the sheriff's office within 48 to 72 hours of completing the initial autopsy. I know there's been lots of conversation here. Perhaps Hassett could talk a little bit more to that, but sometimes there are things that toxicology, things like that, that you will not be done within even the 5 to 10 days. And so the other piece and the clarification that we got is anytime the contractual standard we have should be done within 5 days, must be done within 10 days. Anytime that they're not going to be able to meet that because there's extenuating circumstances, they've had to tell us how they will communicate those anomalies to the public works director. So I do think this will result in an improvement just in clarifying the county's expectations as to the timing of autopsies and the timing of getting preliminary reports into the hands of the customer from the county's perspective that needs them.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Attorney Davis.
Only to say that I believe Supervisor Borelli has been trying to say something for some time.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor
Borelli, do you have comments?
Yes, just a question somebody can answer for me. Has Mr. Hassett divested any interest in any more funeral homes? Because that's always been the controversy. Does he have any financial interest in any of the funeral homes?
Mr. Hassett, if you want to come to the podium and probably answer that directly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, Supervisor Borelli, our funeral homes were divested on October 28th of 2022. They were all sold to FPG Foundation Partners Group.
And to follow up, so the answer is you have no financial interest in any of those other companies?
No, not at this time. I'm not against getting back into the funeral business, but I do not own or operate any funeral home or have a financial interest in them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Open it up to the board again for any discussion.
Quick sidebar question. Manager Elters, did we put money in the capital improvement fund for a future morgue? I believe I did, or we did, excuse me.
Yeah. 4 million.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Lettman, yes, we have. During the prior discussion with the board, staff was directed to explore various locations for a morgue that would be suitable to serve our needs. We did. Those costs were quantified, and they were in the order of $3 million, give or take. We put $4 million. We, at the direction of the board, included $4 million in our FY26 budget, and the board approved it. So yes, we have $4 million in the current fiscal year for a morgue, should the board want to proceed in that direction.
Good. Supervisor Martin, you have a comment. Thank you,
yes,
sir.
we haven't heard from the sheriff on this. We've heard from the county attorney's office, and they don't have any problems apparently. But I'd like to, if the sheriff's online, I'd like to hear from him being that, he's the top dog in Mojave County. I'd like to hear from him his opinion about how his agency has worked with our current ME and if there's ever been any problems with them. Sheriff, you online?
Thank you, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Martin, good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board. We have had issues in the past. I think that is known as at the beginning of this conflict going back years, we had concerns. Lately, we have not had any concerns. So in listening to the conversation that's being held now, I truly believe that this is a board decision. The one thing we look for at the sheriff's office is number one, consistency and accountability. If we need an action taken for a law enforcement purpose, we can't wait on delays. It certainly is impactful when we do, and then not in a good way. So I very much agree with Supervisor Gould in the sense that this is your decision. You're hiring these people. I'm happy to give my input, but in the same vein, when I'm hiring staff, I'm not reaching out to other departments to make that determination. So I guess the short answer is yes, we have had issues in the past, but as of late, I've heard nothing. So I think things are running okay right now, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Sheriff. Supervisor Lettman.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve item 49 as read.
For that motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? A roll call vote. A roll call vote has been requested. Madam Clerk, if you'd run us through a roll call vote. Is there any other discussion before we go into a roll call vote? Supervisor or Attorney Davis.
Just a quick suggestion, since Supervisor Borelli is on Teams, there will be a delay in his vote, so caution a couple of seconds before moving on.
Well, it's a roll call vote, so don't go forward until you hear from Sonny. Take us through that if there's no discussion.
Supervisor Lettman?
Yes.
Supervisor Borelli?
Yes.
Supervisor Martin?
Yes.
Supervisor Gould?
No.
Chairman Lingenfelter?
No.
It passes 3-2.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Great discussion, and we'll move to item number 54.
Mr.
Chairman.
I move that no action be taken on item 54.
I'll second that. Any additional discussion on item number 54? We do have some people that have signed up. We'll go ahead and hear those folks, if that's okay. Scotty McClure, you said you want to speak on 54? Supervisor Borelli?
Yes, my ride is here. I have to go into the Department of Interior. So
Thank you for your
I'm going
participation
offline
this morning, and good luck.
Thank you.
Dr. Daniel Sadlowski, item number 54. And Jennifer Esposito, item number 54. Would you like to speak on item number 54?
3 minutes.
Jennifer Esposito, Kingman, shame on you. Unfortunately, 3 minutes is not enough time to go through all of the problems that we've had in the past. And, you know, we had the opportunity to do something different, to do something better. You know, like I said, this is all in the public record. But I just wanted to let you know that even though I did not have time in 3 minutes to detail all the individual problems, I will absolutely be doing that in the next issue of the Mojave Free Press newspaper. So even though apparently some of you weren't capable of doing a simple internet search and would prefer to rely on staff to give you advice or whatever, or didn't care, whatever, I will tell thousands of local readers, including those who read the website online at MojaveFreePress.com, all of the problems that we've had that 3 of you chose to ignore. Thank you.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes appear to have it. Do have it. So ordered. Thank you. We have 4 presentations this morning. We'll go to those. First presentation this morning is recognition of the Mojave County Department of Public Health for achieving a reaccreditation status by the Public Health Accreditation Board, presented by Director Melissa Palmer. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman, Board again. The National Accreditation Program sets a high standard for more than 3,000 governmental public health departments across the country. It's a roadmap for continuous improvement, ensuring that the services we provide are of the highest quality and that we remain accountable and credible to our community, elected officials, funders, and partners. Accreditation pushes us to do better every day. It gives us a clear framework to set priorities, allocate resources wisely, and receive measurable feedback on where we're strong and where we can grow. Ultimately, it helps us better protect, promote, and preserve the health of our community. But today, I want to take a moment to recognize something that is truly special. This achievement reflects the dedication and hard work of our public health employees, who not only met the national standards, but did so while honoring the unique needs of Mojave County. Unlike urban centers, rural health departments like ours face different challenges. It was incredibly important to us that we meet these measures in a way that reflects who we are and what our communities need. This certification is not just a milestone, it's a testament to our commitment to rural health to the people of Mojave County.
Manager Elfers, would you like to say anything?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. No, thank you. Other than perhaps just to highlight the fact that accreditation helps us sustain a quality set of services as we measure ourselves against what we've done and how others do it. And ironically, we needed to renew this process and get re-accredited. The department, Ms. Palmer and staff, truly understand the value of that effort and took it to heart, worked really hard at it for 2 years, and I can't be happier on behalf of you, the board, and the department to have Melissa share that with you, the board. It is of significant importance, and I'm proud of their achievement. Thank you.
Director Palmer, accreditation and benchmarking, it does demonstrate a certain level of commitment and professionalism. I wanted to say thank you to you and to your whole department on this reaccreditation. That's phenomenal. Supervisor Martin.
Yes, Chairman. I'd like to say that I've only been working with Melissa and her agency for 10 months, but I can tell you this, they are indeed top notch, and they take care of issues. And I would like to offer a well done to Melissa and her department. Thank you very much for what you do.
Would we be able to do a photo real quick?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Our second presentation this morning is titled From Crisis to Community, American Red Cross presentation regarding the Arizona and New Mexico region, presented by Henning Larson. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, county staff, members of the public. I want to express my sincere gratitude for allowing me to be here with you this morning. My name is Henning Larson. I'm the executive director of the newly formed Northern Arizona chapter of the American Red Cross. My hope today is just to give you kind of a high-level overview of our new chapter, the Red Cross, what we're working on locally, and a little context for why there is a new chapter. It's falling apart. I always like to start with our mission. The mission of the Red Cross is what brought me to the Red Cross. I spent 20 years working in politics. That's my background. And I don't have to tell any of you that sometimes it can be difficult to see the good you do at the end of the day. I got a little tired of fighting about what the best way to help people was and just wanted to get down to helping people. So when I discovered the Red Cross mission, simply stated, to prevent and alleviate human suffering, I knew that's what I wanted to do. No matter who you are, we just want to help you. So I always like to start with that and ground my presentations and why I'm here. You're going to hear me and others in the Red Cross talk modern day about the One Red Cross. Essentially what that means is all of our lines of service are now under one umbrella. It didn't always used to be that way. Prior to 2018, the Red Cross was a far more siloed organization. Biomedical services, training services, humanitarian, they were all separate entities. And even every chapter, Northern Arizona, Central, Southern, they were their own 501c3s, their own bank accounts, their own staff, over 550 of them nationwide. As you can imagine, that's not the most efficient way to run things. It also doesn't lend itself to consistent service delivery. So in 2018, the One Red Cross initiative happened. Everything came under one house. This is great for a number of reasons. One, we are now working across lines of service to deliver a better, more consistent product, eliminating redundancies. And also, we have put ourselves, we're a 140-year-old organization, and we've now put ourselves on a solid financial foundation to serve for another 140 years. There is, however, one side effect that wasn't great. All those chapters, 550 of them, got consolidated down to around 220. So Northern Arizona became a part of Central Arizona. I don't have to tell anybody in Northern Arizona that we generally don't want to have to depend on the valley for services and the geographic challenges of doing so, especially when a place like Phoenix with 5 million people tends to sap up a lot of attention and a lot of resources. But here I am today. We got our chapter back. So I represent the northern 5 counties in Arizona. This is a brand new chapter. I just moved to Flagstaff on March 21st, so we've only really been working since April. There's 2 main reasons, like I said, the geographic challenges of serving such a large area out of the valley, but also because we're a part of a division, part of a region that is actually ahead of the rest of the country on our strategic direction at the Red Cross. The big takeaway after the One Red Cross initiative was that there's just more disasters, and they're more expensive. We are constantly in a state of response now. This is challenging our old model. We had a blue sky, gray sky model. Blue sky, we're fundraising, we're getting ready, we're doing educational things. Gray sky, we're marshaling all the resources from our region, from across the nation, to helicopter into a community and help, and then we leave. Well, that doesn't work when we have flooding in Mojave County, flooding down in southern Arizona, the Grand Canyon's on fire, southern New Mexico is flooding, hurricane season is around the corner, Texas is asking for our help. We don't have time to sit around and get ready. We're constantly in response. So what we've discovered is if we're going to deliver on our mission, we have to mobilize our communities. We have to focus on raising local capacity and local resiliency. So right now we're hyper-focused on getting to know each individual community. That's why I'm here. We don't want to be the big national organization that comes in and says, hey, we're the Red Cross, we know what we're doing, listen to us. We need to learn what's right for Mojave County, what's right for Meadview, what's right for Bullhead City, what's right for Kingman, what's right for the Navajo Nation, because it's not always the same thing. And we need to raise up the local community partners that are already doing good work. Our endeavor should not be to replace folks that are already doing good work, but to support and figure out how do we nest and align our services to help fill the gaps. So we're navigating towards what we're calling the century of resilience in Arizona and New Mexico. Our resiliency strategy, I'm not going to go into great detail to save time, but I would let you know it's based on the resilience of an oak tree, building a network. Like I said, what faith-based community groups are already doing great work? What municipal and county programs are already helping? What other nonprofits can we support? The Red Cross can't do everything, but I want to make sure that I have enough partners on my list that when a client is in need in your communities, if I can't help, I know who to call. I can get them help. A good example, we do heat walks here in Mojave County. It gets rather hot. Well, now I'm partnering with organizations that if I discover there's a family that their AC unit is busted, they'll come in and replace it for them. That's not something the Red Cross does, but that's something where I can find a partner that can serve the community. The 2 main prongs of our resiliency plan are our clubhouse training strategy. What that means is we're bringing partners and community members into our spaces to offer free trainings, supplies, education, but also bringing that out to the community. It doesn't make sense to try to get everybody to come to Flagstaff, and I wouldn't ask you to. So now we've partnered with BHHS Tri-State Legacy Foundation. We're sharing their space. We just finished our first shelter training in their new space in Fort Mojave. The other part is the community resilience collaborations. When I said earlier we're looking for partners, we want to collaborate with communities. This year we've started a big collaboration with the Verde Valley. Next year we're very focused on Mojave County, specifically the Bull's Head City area. But we want to be invited. We want folks to tell us what they need. We don't want to tell the community what they need. We want to lead from strength. So that's why these partnerships are hyper important. Also, I understand this is a big chapter, so we can't go community by community with 2-year plans. So we're evaluating the more rural, the more isolated communities. Maybe they don't need quite as much resources to become more resilient, but they need our presence. They need us to be there. I think it's a good point here to point out there is some misconceptions about the Red Cross that I always like to let people know. We don't receive any funding from the federal government or any government entity. We don't receive funding from FEMA. We do support FEMA in the event of a very large national disaster, but we're an independent nonprofit. That's very important to deliver on our mission. We can't be subject to the whims of politics. Our job is just simply to help people in need. We do, however, have 2 congressional charters. Our first congressional charter lays out that we are the national mass care provider. So what that means is in the event of a natural disaster, a hurricane, a wildfire, a flood, we are obligated to stand up shelters, provide feeding, provide resources. Our other congressional charter lays out our service to armed forces and our international services work. So to get down a little bit to what we actually do in the community, the big thing is disasters. I work in humanitarian services, so most of my time is spent dealing with humanitarian crises. Most people know that if there's a fire, a big fire or a hurricane, we're going to stand up a shelter. What a lot of people don't know is the thing we actually do every day, multiple times a day across the chapter, is respond to individual single-family home fires and floods. So if your house catches on fire, as long as somebody asks, somebody does have to call us and make an ask, but that can be the home fire victim themselves, the neighbor, the fire department, it could be anybody. The fire department's going to show up, and then Red Cross volunteers are going to show up. And they're going to have a preloaded debit card for about $500. They're going to make sure you get a hotel for the next couple of days. They're going to bring food for your pets, toys for your kids, whatever it takes to get you through that first 48 hours. And then we're going to follow up with casework. Did you have insurance? What is it going to take to get you back on your feet after suffering this disaster? That might be something the Red Cross can provide in immediate assistance, or it might be, again, a partner we can refer folks to for long-term housing solutions. And like I said, obviously, if there is a big disaster, we're going to stand up shelters, we're going to provide feeding, we're going to provide resources. Sometimes it's managed by us. Some communities prefer to run their own shelter operations. And in those times, we say, well, if you need anything, if you need cots, if you need water, if you need food, call us and we'll provide it. Did I hit the wrong button? There we go. So in addition to responding to disasters, we're also actively trying to prevent them. This data is a little out of date now. This was from 2023. But essentially what it says is since 2014, we've installed over 2,500,000 free smoke alarms that made over 1 million households safer. We do a ton of work around preparedness, everything from K through 2 for our Pedro presentations for small children to understand what to do in a disaster, to adult education. We have Red Cross Ready rating. We will come in for free to a business, to a church, to any organization and help them plan an emergency plan and make sure they know what to do in the case of emergency. We also provide more blood than any other blood bank. We provide the majority of the nation's blood supply and an even larger percentage of the nation's emergency blood supply. Extremely important, every 2 seconds in this country, somebody needs blood. You can donate blood about every 8 weeks, but unless it's frozen for research, it's only shelf stable for 6 weeks. That means we need a constant influx of new donors. We also assist military families when they need us most. From enlistment to retirement, we're doing something with our armed forces and their families. The biggest thing we do is we provide the communication services for soldiers that are deployed overseas. So if there's an emergency back home and you need to get in touch with a soldier overseas, the Red Cross sets up that line of communication and potentially arranges for the soldier to come back home. I just recently met with a family who, unfortunately, there was a female soldier overseas. Her father was dying. The Red Cross was able to, she had no leave yet, but the Red Cross was able to get her paid and home. We had Red Cross volunteers drive her from the airport to her dad's home, and she was able to spend his last moments with her. So it's a big deal. It's something that's very important to me that folks know how much we do for our veterans and for our deployed soldiers. We work with the VA hospital, military clinics. We always attend all the local stand downs to make sure we're providing services. And my phone is always available if you ever have a military family in your area that needs some help. Our line of service that deals with training services provides every kind of life-saving training you could think of: water safety, babysitting, AED, CPR, first aid, anything that makes you, your family, your community safer. Training services provides it in some fashion. This is a point of pride for me because I'm trying to pull funds out of our budget to lower barriers to increase the number of trainers in our area. A few $100s or a couple hours travel to Phoenix might not seem like a lot to some people, but for some people, that's enough of a barrier where they're not going to get trained to be a trainer. Not only are we providing a service to the community, but we're potentially providing jobs to people who will then turn this into a career. I did want to focus a little bit on the local impacts. What does the new chapter mean for Mojave County? Some of the things here, as you can see, in-person trainings in Mojave County. In 2024, we didn't have any. Well, since I got here in March, we've had a shelter simulation, a DAT Academy. DAT is Disaster Action Team. So those are the folks that go out and help people who have had a home fire or a flood damage. Shelter Academy, and we partnered with the Mojave Medical Reserve Corps on some training. The rest of this quarter, we're going to do another feeding academy, Shelter Academy, and we're partnering with the Bullhead Police Department on some simulations. Local response, we've had a 25% increase in assigned responders from Mojave. So why that's important is if you have a house fire and somebody's waiting for assistance, you don't want to be waiting for our volunteers out of Yavapai County, right? So when we have local volunteers, we respond faster and we have greater knowledge of the community and its needs. We've had a 142% increase in our local volunteers. And like I said earlier, we're partnering with BHHS, Tri-State on a shared training space and supply storage space so that we have what we need here. We don't need to wait for supplies. Preparedness. We've done 356 Pedro the Penguin presentations locally for children. We've made 33 homes safer with free smoke alarms. We've conducted 3 heat walks where we went and checked on vulnerable populations and seniors to make sure they have AC, they know what to do on it's a 115-degree day, and also we have arranged for the replacement and repair of some AC units. We've been conducting trainings and providing material supplies to communities such as Meadview for local response and sheltering. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier. You know, you have a one road out, one road in community, and ironically, 3 days after we did our first presentation there, they had a storm come through that knocked out all their water and power to 1,200 residents. It's an example of why we need to make sure individual communities are more resilient. So now on the calendar, we're bringing supplies out to Meadview that we're going to establish their community center as a shelter operation. We're going to store supplies for them. We're going to provide them free training, free resources, and check-in every 6 months. We're doing this across the chapter and across Mojave County. Next week, me and my team are doing a tour of the Northern Strip. A lot of those communities used to depend on Utah for resources. Some of the positions on the southern border in Utah have been eliminated, so now there's a big gap in service. So we're going to Beaver Dam, Colorado City, Fredonia, Page, and we're conducting trainings, presentations, and holding meetings all next week to make that part of our state more resilient. And this is a part of the plan. Just get out there, get to know each individual community. One of my main roles is to act as liaison to our community leaders, our elected officials. So the other part of me being here is I just want you to see me, to know that I am always willing to take your call, your text, your email, no matter what time of day it is. I might not always be able to help, but I will find somebody who can. I just want to throw this up real quick for everybody in the audience, the supervisors. If you scan that QR code, we have a slew of Red Cross apps that will make your family, you, and your community safer. I highly recommend you take a look. With that, I would offer to entertain any questions, and if there are none, I just want to save you some time.
Mr. Larson, thank you for your presentation. I'd open up to the board. Supervisor Martin, thank you.
Mr. Larson, thank you very much. You're right. You went up there and you did training in Meadview, and then unfortunately we had a disaster. Also, I can tell the public that I found a residence up there. People got their house flooded, and they didn't have anything. They had candles in their house. And when I found out about it, I visited them, and I turned around and I contacted Mr. Henning in his office, and they had 2 people there the next day, and we're helping those people out. So I really appreciate his responsiveness to natural disasters like we've had, and they definitely helped out that couple in Meadview, and I look forward to working with them in the future if we have disasters in Mojave County, and specifically Region 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Martin.
Mr. Larson, I would say thank you. I heard you were going up next week to half my district, and District 1 is north of the Grand Canyon, Beaver Dam, Littlefield, Scenic, Colorado City, Centennial Park. So Interested to see what you think of those communities, but certainly appreciate the Red Cross response and going up and becoming familiar.
I'm
and
truly
involved with
excited
this.
to get up there. My goal, and it's more ambitious than the national goal, is to be able to respond to a DAC call or a shelter need, some kind of massacre need, anywhere in the chapter in an hour. You can't really call something immediate assistance if it takes days to get there.
Terrific. Thank you again. Anything else? We'll move on. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Our third presentation this morning, supervisors, is a presentation from countywide road and right-of-way status by Public Works Director Steve Latosky. Good morning, Director Latosky.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to provide a brief snapshot in the scope of Mojave County road network and public rights-of-ways. The county maintains just over 2,100 miles of roads countywide. This includes 1,245 miles of unsurfaced roads, of which approximately 103 miles are of a tertiary standard. Turning to those unsurfaced roads, we have two categories of unsurfaced roads, regular maintenance and tertiary maintenance. You see a comparison of both. These are just typical examples. The tertiary maintained roads actually are at a lesser standard for the public to develop and petition to the county for maintenance acceptance. That's just 24 feet wide with 2-foot shoulders and a minimum 30-foot wide right-of-way. Now, the contrast between the two maintenance types, regular maintenance are maintained on a circuit basis. We have 18 dedicated blade routes that maintain a subset of roadways in a circuitry fashion. Tertiary maintained roadways, on the other hand, are maintained on, as we call, an as-available maintenance, but we do make every effort to treat them or service them about twice annually versus about 7 to 8 times annually for the regular maintained road. I'm sorry for the, well, I'll detail the text there. I'm sorry for the absence of the text. But on the non-county maintained roads, the county actually has about over 8,500 miles of public rights of way. So as I detailed in the previous slides, we only maintain over 2,100 miles of roadways. So the county maintains less than 25% of the overall public rights of ways in Mojave County. So turning to those public rights of ways, some of which are quite frankly undeveloped, and I use this example as a specific example. There's basically 3 types of rights of ways. There's rights of ways that the county holds in fee title, typically granted by subdivision plats or individual landowners, providing right-of-way dedications to the county. A good portion of them are easements. They're easements for public ingress and egress. And lastly, we do have across federal lands either rights of ways that are assigned to the county by the BLM, or are what's called RS-247 rights of ways. They were highways that were laid out, roads laid out, physically laid out prior to the repeal of revised statute 2477. So this is just one example on the screen, a plat in the southwest area of Wickiup. This is still an undeveloped subdivision. However, it was platted in 1950. I think this is Accolade Estates. And it established 60-foot easements for the public rights-of-way. So even though these roads are undeveloped, these are an example of public rights for ingress and egress through this subdivision area. This is a really important slide. I really wanted to put this in here for the public's interest. This comes from our GIS, but the public at any time can log on to the county website, access the Mojave County GIS, and at any time understand, highlight the roads that are maintained by the county as well as the right-of-way status. So all they do is they find that little three-sheet or 3-layer icon in the upper left corner, and then there's areas where you can click for the county maintained roads to be displayed as well as the rights-of-way to be displayed. Let me take you through that with the last couple of slides. If you were to click on the Mojave County maintained roads, The paved roads show up in a dark gray color, and the not on the unsurfaced roadways show up in an orange color. This is just an example from the Meadview area. You can kind of see the concentration of paved roads there in the center of Meadview, and then there's a number of unsurfaced road in orange. But there are, however, and if you look maybe on the Pierce Ferry Road corridor, there are a lot of roads that come off of, say, Pierce Ferry Road in this area that are not maintained, and this layer will show that. So it kind of gives the public a better perspective of the status of the roadways. And then I'll end here with a little snapshot of the right-of-way layer. Now, this is if you were to click the rights-of-ways, and this is an interesting one from the Horizon 6 area. We actually, through an exhaustive level of work, I'm talking many, many years of work by our GIS technician, James Lambert at Mojave County Public Works. And, of course, he's supported by Steve Engel and Nathan McDaniel at the County IT for the master maintenance of the GIS. We have identified most all of the record documents that have supported the public rights-of-way. So the public right-of-ways are highlighted in green and yellow. And if the public were to ever click on just one of those rights-of-ways in the green-colored area, you'll find an opportunity to actually pull the record document that established that right-of-way. Now, you'll see a couple of other colors there. You see the red. The red actually exemplifies private rights-of-way. This is just a snapshot from the accompanying plat. There was a plat that was recorded where the property owner split some parcels, and he wanted to establish private rights-of-way. So that's recognized as such. And then we also, and these are kind of, we don't have a tremendous amount of record of the utility rights-of-ways, but in the case of the Horizon 6 water system, which we maintain, we do show in purple some of the easements that are just for public utility use. But we don't have those quite broadly recorded GIS. But the public rights-of-ways and even to a lesser extent the private rights-of-ways, we do. And that concludes my presentation. Open any questions.
Thank you, Director. Questions? Supervisor Martin?
Steve, one of the most, I think the most calls we get, or I get, is people asking, hey, how come the county isn't grading my road? We got flooded, and now we got sand everywhere. We can't even ride out of there. And I know there's a difference between public right-of-ways and a county-maintained road. Can you kind of explain what the county's responsibility is on a public right-of-way versus a county-maintained road?
Chairman Lingenfelter, Supervisor Martin, that's a great question. So the public rights-of-ways are still administered by Mojave County, but in the context of those that are not maintained by Mojave County, there's two things that we look to assist residents on. One, actually three things. The first one is we do have petition processes by which the public can actually engage at their own cost in improving the roadway to a certain standard, whether it's tertiary or regular. The second one is, in the context of administering these rights-of-ways, should there be an incident where somebody has blocked the right-of-way, blocked the public right-of-way, our department will take the lead on contacting the party that blocked the right-of-way and take steps towards remediating that and essentially opening the right-of-way. So those are really the key functions, for administering the public rights.
Are there state laws that prohibit the use of county equipment on public right-of-ways?
No, and actually you delved into one other point that I really wanted to make, Supervisor Martin, and that is the Board of Supervisors actually has adopted a resolution, 2016-116, which permits residents and property owners to continue to maintain, smoothen, a public right-of-way for their purposes of ingress and egress, even if it isn't maintained. Well, if it isn't maintained by the county, without the need to get a permit. So we take out all that red tape, and so if property owners want to maintain a public right-of-way, they have that very right to under the resolution.
So I think more than that, can we as a county expend county resources on a road that is not in our system?
Chairman Lingenfelter, Supervisor Martin, the first step that would have to happen, and this is basically per the statutory guidelines and regulations on our use of Highway User Revenue Fund, would be to establish that roadway, that public right-of-way, as a county highway. The county highway establishment enables the Board of Supervisors to then expend funds on acquiring additional right-of-way or improving the roadway through design and ultimately.
But as far as being able to, if somebody calls up and says, hey, I live out here in wherever, and there's a road in front of my house, and we find out that in our system, it's not a road, it's just a right-of-way. And is a county able then to take a grader out there and grade their road? Or
Chairman
the
Lingenfelter,
right-of-way?
Supervisor Martin, if the road has not been accepted for maintenance, we would be precluded. We would not be able to grade that.
That's what I wanted to say. So I know a lot of people think that, you know, they live in the county and they pay taxes on different things, and they think that they have a right to have their road graded, when in fact we know that there's state statutes that prohibit that if they don't meet the requirements. And that, I think that's something, that's a lot of calls I get from my district after these rainstorms, is people's roads or what they think are roads. And my comment to a lot of them is, well, did they tell you what they were when you bought the property? We know that property in Mojave County in the outlying areas is relatively inexpensive. People buy that property and there's a what they think is a dirt road in front of their property. What they didn't ask, and what they should ask, is that a right-of-way or is that a county road? Because if it's a right-of-way, when it gets flooded, then we cannot expend resources to correct that. Is that correct?
Chairman Lingenfelter, Supervisor Martin, that's correct. Yes,
Okay.
if it's not a road accepted for county maintenance. And that's why I was really excited to show some of the tools that we have at the county
Sure.
for persons or prospective property buyers who actually look at this.
And that is, in fact, the landowner's responsibility. The county doesn't send out notices and say, hey, by the way, you just bought that 5-acre parcel out in Grasshopper Junction, and we don't maintain the roads. That's up to the landowner, the private landowner.
Supervisor Martin, that is correct. But to a testament of staff, we have spent hundreds, if not thousands, of staff hours to build this GIS and make this information available.
Right. Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Manager Elters.
Really quick, only the Board of Supervisors can accept additional roadway segments into the county-maintained road system. And to that point, just about every board meeting or every other board meeting, there's a petition that is brought to the board. Staff brings it to say, acknowledge and defer to staff to investigate it and bring it back to the board. Ultimately, the board either approves it or rejects it, but it has to be brought to certain standards before the board accepts it. So to answer Supervisor Martin's question, aside from county highways, and not every road qualifies for a county highway classification, those roads have to be brought up to county standards, those standards that are being requested for maintenance before the board accepts it for maintenance, just to maybe clarify that point further. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Supervisor Gould, you look like you had a discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Latosky, hopefully the editor of the local newspaper will take a moment and watch your presentation, because apparently he feels the public is confused on this issue. And his editorial this morning was outrage looking for an issue. This is nothing new to people that live in the county. They realize that in the rural areas of the county, at least, that not every road is maintained by the county. It was an interesting, I saw his original article, which was fine, kind of just explained it, but then he had some, his editorial I thought was just kind of out of line. I don't think that there's anything nefarious going on. This is just how it is. Most people don't realize that the developer paid for the paved roads that are in front of their home. They somehow think that the taxpayers paid for that, and then they think their taxes pay for all the paved roads, and they should get a paved road, but that's not really how it works. Thank you, sir.
You live in a rural area, especially up north. We've had some really weird issues, with right-of-ways and actually having to relocate accesses because of right-of-ways. But I think the message is caveat emptor, right? Buyer beware. If you buy in a rural area, you got to know what you're buying and how to get there. Any other thing? We'll move on. Thank you for the presentation, sir. Presentation number 4, it's our final presentation this morning. It's from the Mojave County Flood Control District regarding how projects are identified, prioritized, and selected for funding by Development Services, Director Holtry and Mr. Randy Grimlich. Good morning, gentlemen.
Board members, thank you for this opportunity. I'll try to be brief but informative. I know it's been a long morning. I do have here with me my flood district engineer, Randy Grimlich. He's a lot smarter than I am and knows the subject a little bit better. But I do appreciate this opportunity to inform the board and also the public on what flood control is and what we do. First of all, kind of getting into some of the services that we provide as a flood control department. More recently, we've been involved with the Kingman groundwater support. That is to deal with the groundwater model that we partnered with the City of Kingman and USGS on, the monitoring wells and the infiltration basins that we're working on. We have FEMA Programs Administration. This is where we administer the flood use plain permits. Anytime you want to construct something in the floodplain, then you need to come and get a permit from our division. We also issue those certificate of elevation for any structure that's in the floodplain as well. Land development support, we're looking at all of the grading permits that come through the county, any development, subdivisions, commercial projects need to meet our current drainage standards. That is in our drainage manual for retention and grading, making sure that it's done correctly. We have an expansive alert system throughout the county that we maintain, over 200 units that measure the rainwater, the soil moisture. They have cameras, and this is a big service to the county. The residents, also the National Weather Service, uses this alert system for their benefit. We also go out on service requests. This comes from the public. After an event, we'll get several calls. Our inspector will go out and look at potential flooding that has occurred on their property and can make a determination on if it was caused by an adjacent property owner. We do not pursue those violations. That would have to be done civilly between the two property owners, but we can and do provide reports for the benefit of the property owner to help them understand where some of that drainage and flooding is coming from. We participate in several hydrology studies throughout the county. We're currently working on several of those that help provide additional resources to FEMA for their update on their maps, which will sometimes bring people out of a floodplain, but also floodplains are always changing, and so we have to continue to do that study to help us know where the floodwaters are. And lastly, we construct and maintain flood control facilities throughout the county, and we can kind of get into that a little bit here as we go. Where does the funding come from? Flood control is a special taxing district. We tax 50 cents per $100 of assessed property value. So a $100,000 home will get $50 annually for that property. Last FY25, we received $11.4 million. We do have some administrative fees. We also provide funding to all of the cities within Mojave County, Colorado City, Kingman, Bullhead, and Lake Havasu. They provide their own flood control measures within their city boundaries. The amount that they receive is based on their population. Ultimately, this last FY25, we ended up with about $5.4 million for our services. We do apply for several grants to help funding with projects that we have throughout the county. Just this FY25, we were able to implement $3.6 million on the Mojave infiltration basins, and also $1 million on the Bank Street design and construction here in Kingman. The county has 27 existing channels and basins. We have 6 channels and basins under design and on the docket for construction. And we have several that are on our wish list that we're looking to hopefully implement within the coming years. Just looking at the list over the years, the county has had many opportunities. I think I counted 61 projects, major projects throughout the county. A lot of them are based on the funding that we have, whether or not we're able to get grant funding. Some of the projects are quite large, and not having the funding for those projects is a big deciding factor on whether or not we can complete it. How we prioritize some of our projects. We look at the beginning of each fiscal budget, we look at what funds we have and what projects we are currently working on and the projects that we would like to work on. So we're entering that season right now. We're looking at all the projects that we're currently underway with and all the projects that we would like to do as well. And then we look at the funding and also maybe the grant opportunities that we have. We also evaluate based on the impact that the project would have. A lot of them can take homes out of the floodplain. A lot of them can help the public works and their services with roads throughout the county that receive damage during an event. We will base some of our decisions on that. Also, what grants are available to apply for help us making that decision. And ultimately, all these decisions come to the Board of Supervisors at the budget approval. How do we identify future projects? We really look at the historical records that we have. There's several opportunities to look for information through historical records, historical patterns that we've received throughout the county and where we need to maybe provide some of these services. We really look at the public input that we receive. We've received a lot of public input in these past coming days about some of the impacts that we've had over the events that have happened over the past few months. We look at hydrology models. We're continually doing hydrology models. We have funding and budgeted for projects within the county for those hydrology models that will help us better understand where we need to spend some of this money and create projects. We look at the FEMA flood insurance rate maps, where those impact the citizens of Mojave County and how we can help maybe bring individuals out of those floodplains or have a better understanding of where the water's going. And then ultimately, we're looking at the feasibility and funding that we have. This is just an example of a hydrology study that we've been able to do. You can see the different colors. The purple is the deeper the water is, as well as the lighter blue is less deep. The one thing that we'd like to emphasize on this is based on the 100-year storm. This is an area in the Fort Mojave vicinity. And based on a 100-year storm, these are depths within that area based on the hydrology study that we were able to complete. One thing that we would like to mention is that the county, all surfaces are susceptible to flooding. If it doesn't have a color, it's less than 6 inches. 6 inches and higher is where it would receive that blue color. But everywhere in the county is susceptible to flooding, especially if the event is higher than that 100-year storm as well. This is an example of our FEMA firm maps. I'd like to reiterate that both of these maps are available on our county website. The public is able to see the flood information through our GIS website and can see where their home or their property is affected by these floodplains. Kind of wanted to get into some of the major projects that the county has completed. Like I said, we had over 61 that I've counted, but some of the more impactful ones, one being the Mojave Wash here in Kingman, and we've kind of pulled some projects throughout the entirety of the county. Mojave Wash It was $11.7 million project. A lot of that was grant funded, and we did receive quite a bit of funding from the city itself. Horizon 6 detention basin was able to alleviate a lot of flooding in that area. It was quite a big project for those basins. And then my understanding is we also did a channel project right adjacent to that that helped alleviate more of the flooding. Tierra del Rio basins was a large project that helped alleviated a lot of the flooding in the Fort Mojave area. And then the Moccasin Wash Culvert up in the Arizona Strip was quite a significant project that was completed up in the Arizona Strip area. All these projects and other projects can be found at our flood.mojave.gov. Anybody can go in and see some detailed information on those projects. One question that we've been receiving, and this is my last slide, is how can we protect ourselves as a homeowner from flooding in my own property? First and foremost, if you're in a flood zone, you can apply for your flood insurance. We have, like I said, on our county website, all those rain gauges and cameras are accessible to the public at mojave.onerain.com. You're able to go in and see the specific cameras for your area and measure or see the amount of rain that is being measured in your area as well. You can know your FEMA floodplain status by going to flood.mojave.gov, see where the floodplains are on your property. Sandbags are usually available at the local fire station. As a property owner, you can construct a berm or walls or do erosion protection on your property. One thing I would like to emphasize is that you cannot, like I mentioned before, you cannot deter the water from your property onto somebody else's property or increase flows to another adjacent property as well. One thing that would usually be required if you are in a floodplain is that floodplain use permit. So you would need to apply for that permit through the county, and we'd be able to make that determination for you. With that, we do have several projects that are underway right now. Like I mentioned before, the direction that we received from the board a few years ago was the groundwater infiltration basins. We have several, I think 6 of those projects.
6 were approved, 3 are actually designed, and 1 is.
We also have several of the hydrology studies underway. Thanks to Supervisor Gould and the ARPA money that we've received for the Yucca and the Golden Shores and Havasu Heights area, we've been able to get those studies underway as well. We have several projects that are now on our wish list, especially from the events that have occurred over the past few months. Definitely, we have looked and have been working with developers in the Fort Mojave area. One for a drainage pipe in a subdivision that can lead to the El Rodeo panel that can help alleviate a lot of flooding in a specific area, as well as any some detention basins that could help alleviate some of the projects or flooding in that area as well. With that, I'm open to any questions that the board may have.
All right, I'd open it up to the board. Supervisor Lattman, thank you.
Director Holtry, Randy, thank you for accepting the invitation to come out and make the presentation. One quick one. The administration fee of $400 and something thousand, is that pretty much for the payment is that the allocation of your payroll and against the direct budget, or what's that for?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Lettman, it goes to the treasurer. So, and I'm not super familiar with the reason why we would have that administration fee, but I know that there is reasoning behind it. I don't know if Randy has any more explanation.
Well, part of our budget goes for the building and to pay for the utilities and
Allocation.
and computer services and those kind of things, yeah.
Okay, sounds like an allocation, which is fine. This is an observation, not a criticism. I was going through the list of the current projects, and I'm not sure what's on the wish list. Just my observation, again, not a criticism, is that many of the projects seem to be very Kingman area centric. Okay, and we obviously have at least 2 districts that abut my district that have clear needs for projects in the future. So I would certainly like to take a look at the wish list as it's created, and perhaps move the priority setting, as you folks are the ones that do it, a little more to the west.
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Lettman, absolutely. One thing I would like to mention as well is a lot of the funding that we received for the projects that are currently underway are WIFA funding that specifically relies on infiltration or helping augment the Kingman Basin. And so a lot of the funding the projects that are underway right now were based on the direction that we received from the board, but also the availability of that funding. But yeah, going forward, we do have several on our wish list that are outside of that area that we'd like to move forward with.
Yeah, and you received grant funding, of course, for the infiltration, which is great. No, it's a great project. I support it. Again, it's a flood control district, and there's a lot of people along that river and up north of Golden Valley who clearly need assistance.
Absolutely.
If I could add one thing, we have already initiated a conversation with the State Land Department about a possible detention basin for Fort Mojave. It's a long process, but we've already started that conversation, so we're working that direction.
Supervisor Gould, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisors, I had a constituent at the last meeting that came down, a husband and wife, and said that their house was flooding. I went out and took a look at that house. I had 3 other complaints in that same neighborhood on flooding. Went out and took a look at it, went and looked at the flood map, and where they'd built their home, it'd be the worst possible place in the area you could build a home because 2 drainages effectively run through their front yard. Their house was built, the finished floor level was above the flood height, and it still had inches of standing water in it. They told me when it flooded, but that was the project that that these gentlemen are talking about. There was a retention basin higher up, and then some kind of a flood control drain to run that water into El Rio Wash, and it would really dry that area out because that water just comes out of the mountains and runs right through a neighborhood.
Supervisor Martin. Thank you.
Thank you. Question about your hydrology studies. Do you know the identified basins in Mojave County, the basins for the water? Do you have that information?
Mr. Chair, Supervisor Martin.
Sorry, I don't quite understand your question.
Well, okay, let's deal with the Sacramento Basin, okay? You guys know what the boundaries of the Sacramento Basin are, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And we know that they actually extend into downtown Kingman, right?
Yes, the very upper reaches do. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So the city of Kingman could drill right there for water to supply the city out of the Sacramento Basin if they chose to do so.
Yeah, floodwater is different from groundwater, but yeah, I believe you're correct. Yes.
Okay, so, and like I say, I know you're dealing mostly with floodwater, but I hear a lot of information about what the status of those basins are, those groundwater basins. Do you guys have anything to do with that?
Mr. Chairman.
Manager Elthers.
Supervisor Martin, ADWR is the state agency that handles those basins/aquifers. They do studies on some form of frequency. I think it's in the 5 year. It's in the order of 5 years where they go out, study the various basins, and we have multiple ones in Mojave County, all the way from the north part of the county on south. They keep that information, and it's on the state website. We'll be more than happy to work with you to bring you additional information if you would like to.
Yes, because that is one of the questions that I hear from constituents in Golden Valley, is that the water is dropping at a tremendous rate out there. And I know in past service on the board, various boards I was on, they didn't show that. But then but Golden Valley's growing. We know it's growing. And it would be very informative if we could let the public know. I know one lady said it's dropping a foot a year in the Sacramento Basin, and she wanted to know if Kingman could drill into the basin, would that further cause a depletion of the water out there? So, yeah, that'd be great information for the public.
We'll reach out and gather more information on the aquifers.
Okay, thank you.
If you would like.
Supervisor Lettman, thank you.
Last follow. When will we get to see the wish list and the evaluation of the items on the wish list?
Well, the detailed evaluation doesn't really come until the budget system, the budget year comes up, but we can provide anytime a list of projects that we'd like to work on if we had the money. Yes.
I'd love to look.
Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Manager Eldridge, yes.
To Supervisor Lettman's question, the best time for that is during the budget process. I would really like, if I may, just 2 minutes to point out the flood control district has been in place since the late 80s, and we have had multiple, even though the department or staff listed 4 projects, we have had many. The El Rodeo Channel, which was built in the late 80s, early 90s, was a significant and was one of the largest projects that we had done at that time. We continue to look at the need and where the need is and what benefit will a project produce, whether it's the Mojave Channel or the El Rodeo or any other ones in the Horizon 6 area and Lake Havasu. It really boils down to, as you saw, it's a taxing district. We collect over $11 million, but that is shared about 50-50 with the cities. And so we do standalone projects, but we also work with the cities where it makes sense to use their funding and any comparable funding from the county. The need far exceeds the resources, so anytime there is a chance for grant fund, as you heard, whether it's FEMA, DEMA, or the WIFA projects. We were grateful to Supervisor Gould for that was more than $500,000 to study the 3 areas in District 5. And so we leverage every dollar we can to provide as much benefit as possible. As far as specific projects are concerned, we use the budget process to lay those out, and so you as board members can see them. But ultimately, we work within our means and try to ensure that we have, by the way, we have 2 components. We have maintenance as well, so we maintain existing channels, and then we set aside funding for capital projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott and Randy, I just have one question for my own information. So the flood control district is a secondary taxing district, right? It's a special taxing district. When that was created, did we have to get, or did the county have to get the cities to sign on to that, and that's why we fund 50-50, or did the cities not have their own capability of leveraging their own flood control fund?
I don't totally know the history on this, but if I remember right, it wasn't until about 10 or 15 years ago that we started sharing with the cities. So there was quite a while where the county just managed all that money on its own. So I don't think that cities were involved in the original setup for the district. No.
So it's, if I might build upon that, I'd be curious whether or not in statute it's required, since the county was the entity that leverages they levy these taxes, right? Is there a statutory requirement to actually share them with the cities?
Not that I know of, no.
So I guess I'm just curious why that is. That funding mechanism, I think you said it was based on their official U.S. Census population. Is that accurate?
And also, I believe it has to do with the property values, the total property values of each community also.
So as a part of the formulation, though, I'm trying to understand it, critical thinking here, the formula, the sharing formula, the equivalent, basically 50-50 for the cities, is it based upon their official U.S. Census population?
My understanding, that's one of the criteria, and it's the property values also.
So if U.S. Census population is used, I think that would seem to hurt Kingman, certainly hurts Kingman, because prior city council back in the 80s got rid of the primary property tax, and they haven't really annexed anything for a long time. And so, these days, I think those of us that are familiar with the area, there's as many people living outside of the municipal boundary as there is inside the municipal boundary. So they're getting dinged. And then I think Bullhead's probably getting dinged a little bit too, right? Because they don't have a primary property tax. They have a secondary fire district tax and a sales tax, but I don't think they have a property tax. So they're probably getting dinged in the same way. It's just interesting. I'd like to have more information on that.
Mr. Chairman and board members, we'll come back to this subject and discuss it further. Indeed, the history is that the flood control district started with the funds collected, used by the county for county projects. At some point down the roads, the cities approached the board and said, we need to, we also have flood control district projects. We need to share in the funding. That was debated, discussed, argued perhaps over, and then a formula was developed. That formula is in place today. That is the basis for this distribution. We'll come back to the board and discuss that formula, perhaps explain it, explain the history and the formula a little bit more. Let me take this moment just to say, forgive us. I usually don't like to have 4 or 5 presentations to the board in one board meeting, but 2 of those presentations today were specifically requested by board members. But this, we usually like to pace ourselves and not overwhelm you with, we'll come back to you with additional information.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I appreciate the additional information. I'm just not too great with, we're doing it this way and we've always done it this way. I just don't really like that. Did the cities not have the statutory authority to levy their own flood control monies? Maybe that's a question to you, Manager Elters. Maybe that's a question for Attorney Davis. Under Title IX?
That is legal question. I'll defer
or
to
special
the
districts title.
Mr.
Come back to me. I don't have an answer right now. I'd be interested in that though. Any other questions? Thank you for the presentation, gentlemen. All right. It's almost noon. We'll go to the consent agenda. Items 4 through 46. Supervisor Martin? Okay. Supervisor Gould?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 19 and item 44.
19 and 44. Thank you, sir. Supervisor Lattman?
I have no items to pull.
And I have no items to pull either. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, minus items 19 and 44.
So moved.
You have that motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I appear to have it, do have it so ordered. We'll move to item 19. Supervisor Gould. This is, let me read this into the record. Approve and award contract number 2025-038-RFP Mojave Valley Landfill Operations to Gamby 360, Kingman, Arizona, for an initial term of 7 years, commencing upon January 1st, 2026, with the option to renew the contract for up to 2 additional 4-year periods on behalf of Development Services Environmental Quality Division. Funding will be adopted per budgets per fiscal year. We do have some people signed up to speak, but if you'd like to kick this off, Supervisor Gould.
Mr. Chairman, no, I just wanted to let the people have the opportunity to speak to the issue.
Very well, thank you very much. We'll get to the speakers now. I know some of you have been waiting a very long time. Mark Petrovich, you're up. followed by Antonio Johnson.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Mark Petrovich. I am with Republic Services. Republic is a solid waste and environmental service provider in Mojave. I'm here today regarding the Mojave County Landfill Management Agreement, which is now under consideration. For more than 3 decades, Republic Services and Mojave County have worked side by side to ensure the landfill is operated safely, efficiently, and in full compliance with environmental regulations. Our partnership began in 1988 with Tri-State Disposal, which later became Republic Services in 1999, and since then, we have continued to deliver dependable, community-focused landfill management. Today, Republic employs 96 people in Mojave County and neighboring communities, including 8 full-time professionals dedicated exclusively to the landfill's daily operation. These are local employees invested in the community's well-being and the continued success of this facility. Each year, the Mojave landfill manages roughly 95,000 tons of material. Currently, Republic controls over 53% of that total volume through our residential, commercial, and industrial collection services. Because of this operational scale, Republic delivered over $1.2 million in royalty revenue to Mojave County last year alone. No other company can match that financial contribution or the proven track record of reliability that Republic brings to the table. Our commitment extends far beyond operation. When the county faced urgent infrastructure needs, Republic stepped up, not as a vendor, but as a partner. In 2014, when gas vents were required to avoid potential notices of violation to Mojave County, Republic absorbed the $61,000 cost to ensure regulatory compliance and protect the county from any NOVs. In 2024, when gas lines needed installation, we again advanced $290,000 to get the work done, ensuring uninterrupted landfill operations until the county could secure funding for reimbursement. This history demonstrates what partnership looks like in practice. It's responsive, responsible, and reliable support year after year. In addition, as part of Republic's alternative proposal, and in the 220-page summary that supervisors received, I could not find where our alternative proposal was mentioned. Republic Services had voluntarily reduced our operations fee per ton, a concession that would save Mojave County more than $250,000 over the term of the agreement. This reflects our ongoing commitment balancing the financial responsibility with operational excellence and long-term partnership. As you consider the next landfill management agreement, we agree and respectfully request that agenda item 19 be pulled from the consent agenda. Given the size and importance of this contract, we believe it's only fair and prudent for county staff to conduct in-person interviews with all proposals before a final decision is made. Thank you for your time.
Antonio Johnson. Mark Masterson, you're on deck.
Yes, good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Antonio Johnson, Area Vice President for Republic Services. Our presence and intent of today is to emphasize the importance of the Mojave Valley Landfill Operating Agreement and its partnership with Republic Services in the county. Based on the Tri-State acquisition and the acquisition therefore, we have been a partner with the county for 3+ decades. Under this partnership, Republic Services contributes more than 50% of the volume and the revenue associated with the Mojave Valley Landfill Operating Agreement. Year to date, that average is around $48,000 to $50,000 a month, and if you annualize that throughout the Q4, you're looking at north of $500,000, really close to $600,000. Throughout this time, we have actively invested in, volunteered, and engaged in the community, not because we have to, because that is part of our fabric of the DNA that we live by. As mentioned before, Republic employs nearly 100 residents that reside in Mojave County and raise their families here. Our Lake Havasu and Bullhead divisions are committed to have an unwavering commitment to keeping the counties and communities in which they serve safe, clean, environmentally compliant, and is the pinnacle of our core values. Given the scope and the value of this agreement, Republic asks that you remove item 19 from the consent agenda to conduct an in-person interview with all proposers before a final decision is made. Republic Services greatly appreciates the partnership with Mojave County, and we thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Mark Masterson. Jay Markle, you're on deck.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Board of Supervisors, Mark Masterson with Republic Services. Really, what I want to bring is I just want to talk about our partnership, right? I've been around a while. I've had meetings with Supervisor Gould a few times regarding the landfill. I've been to many of these meetings to talk about county items regarding the landfill. I've had the opportunity to talk to Manager Elters a few times about this as well. And just kind of want to let you know the passion we have to continue our partnership with the county. 38 years of excellent service and partnership to me goes a long way. And we want to continue that. We're very proud of the partnership we've had. I feel that if given the chance to actually interview personally with all parties intended, to kind of tell our story would be a lot bigger way to kind of make this decision based on the facts instead of some evaluations. And I'm not discounting the evaluations. I just think that we got a lot more to say. We've been a great partner. I was the GM here when we did the gas expansion, and I was at actually Disneyland when I got a call from at the time the director asking about, hey, this landfill is going to shut down if we don't get this done now. We can't get it approved through the board in time. Can you help us out? So yeah, I got off It's a Small World with my kids and made a phone call or two, and we got it taken care of. And that's what partnership's about. And we are definitely here for the long haul. We are a big company, but we do have close to 100 people in Mojave County. I have a house in Bullhead City. I've attended a lot of these meetings and got to know a lot of you on a personal level. Supervisor Letman, I was able to get to know you a little bit with our partnership in the Bullhead City as your councilman. And we just want to continue that. And we want to make sure that everybody understands our goal, our vision, what we're trying to do, and to make sure that the decision's made in the best interest of the county. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Let's see. Nikki Nickel?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Mojave County Supervisors. My name is Jay Markle, and I am the General Manager for Republic Services here in the greater Mojave Valley County area. I appreciate, as well as all of us here appreciate the opportunity you've allowed us this morning to speak on our behalf. I would like to start with our operations team and what they bring to Mojave County Landfill. We have an experienced crew of operators, maintenance techs, scale house clerks, as well as our post-collection manager, Dean Pankowski, who has over 14 years himself as a management experience in the post-collection industry with Republic Services right here in Mojave County. Every one of the individuals mentioned above are local to Mojave County where they reside, and they take advantage of the many fun family opportunities that Mojave County offers. We also have our area post-collections manager, Ken Mullins, who brings decades of successful post-collection experience and helps to oversee the operation of Mojave County Landfill. This combined group of frontline employees on the ground working hard each day alongside their leadership team have been awarded the best in class for their exceptional work at Mojave County Landfill, which means they have met and exceeded all county, state, federal, and Republic Services requirements at an exceptional level. That's quite an accomplishment to do. I'd like to continue with the top priority for Republic Services is safety. It always has been, and it always will be. It is extremely important for our employees to go home each and every day to their families the exact way they came to work. We take pride in knowing that in over 15 years and well beyond, Republic Services has had no notice of violations, which is more commonly known as NOVs, or preventable accidents, injuries right here at Mojave County Landfill. In over 15 years, we have had none of those. Plus, our employees take pride in their safety record and make it a point that the customers who frequent Mojave County Landfill exit the property the exact same way they entered the property, so they can also get home to their families and loved ones safely every single day. We make this happen by starting off each day with a safety message prior to going into the daily operating plan. Republic Services as a whole over the last decade has had a 40% better safety performance than the industry average, and nowhere does that speak truer than right here at Mojave County Landfill. I'd also like to mention that over the last 4 years, we have invested just over $2.5 million in new operating equipment. This also includes a new fencing as well as an office trailer to conduct business in and give our employees a comfortable place to call home while at work. A few of the equipment highlights would be a 2024 Peterbilt CW4 water truck at a cost of just over $205,000 that was added in 2024. And just this summer, we added a brand new 2024 Caterpillar 826K landfill compactor, at a cost of just over $1.1 million. This piece of equipment not only helps us meet, but also exceed the 1,300 per cubic yard requirement for Mojave County at Mojave County Landfill.
Thank you, sir. Nikki Nickel.
Good. Oh, it's almost afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairman and Board of Supervisors. Thank you for having me. I'm Nikki Nickel. I'm the Territory Executive with Republic Services out of Havasu and Bullhead. I wanted to speak very quickly this morning. I know it's been a long meeting about the community impact. I did read most of the 220-page document, and I saw in there on our scores the word local being brought up a lot, and I wanted to touch point that we do sponsor over 48 community and nonprofit events annually in the county with over $52,000 excuse me, in in-kind sponsorships. We are the $10,000 presenting sponsor for the Magic of Christmas Festival in Bullhead City. We are also a platinum sponsor for the Lake Havasu Balloon Festival. All of these are nonprofits. We have approximately 268 community volunteer hours just from our local leadership. We are active chamber members and supporters in the Lake Havasu and Bullhead chambers. Our team is local, raising their families here in Mojave County and engaged in their communities. I was raised in Mojave County, graduated here, married here, and have my family here. So I want you guys to consider us local as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Basso? And then Jack Fiore, you're on deck. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kevin Basso. I am the landfill director for Gambia Enterprises. With me today is the CEO, Dave Vaccarezza, Jack Fiore, who you'll hear from next, Tim Brown, our operations manager, and Ken Kimball, our equipment maintenance manager. We're pleased and excited to expand our operations here with this county. Currently, we operate the Surbat landfill, have for a number of years. Like Republic Services, we've made great investments into this county and into that landfill. We went through a competitive process to get here today, and we are quite pleased that we have a relationship. Excuse me. We take a lot of pride in our attention to detail, and we believe that our attention to detail and our operations excellence showed through in our submittal for this operation contract at the Mojave landfill. We went through a scoring process. We scored better in every category compared to our competitor, Republic Services, to operate the Mojave landfill. One of the most important things that we recognize is operating a landfill is the space that is consumed. In a landfill, you're really selling airspace. And the cost of that airspace is development, and you have a finite amount of airspace. You fill that airspace with tonnage, and the goal is to essentially squeeze as much tons into a cubic yard as you can. We have proven excellence at Surbat landfill. We have a compaction rate of over 1,500 pounds per cubic yard with a minimum standard of 1,300. That compares to the information that we were provided that Republic Services currently does at 1165 cubic or pounds per cubic yard. What that really means is how much space do you have in the life of that landfill? And currently this landfill has development space of 300,000 cubic yards. And at our compaction rate, you expand the life of that by 6 months. Over 2 years, 97,000 tons a year go into that site, and we will essentially make room for an extra 67,000 tons within that 300,000 cubic yards. So that shows our attention to detail and our excellence in landfill operation. And that's why we're standing here today with the recommendation to award us this contract. We're ready to move forward. We're making investments as we speak for a January beginning date, and we appreciate your support of our program.
Thank you, sir. Jack Fiore.
Good afternoon. I'm Jack Fiore with Gamby 360. I think overall, a lot of good points have been made today by all parties. I feel like you've been given the information that I would think would be necessary to make a good decision here today. As Kevin said, we were proud to take the opportunity to bid on this in this competitive process. We've in our time at Surbat Landfill, we've I think been a good vendor for the county, and we have every expectation and intention to continue to be a good vendor. And without becoming redundant, I'd just like to say that I hope that you see through to follow the recommendation from staff, and we're, Kevin said, looking very much forward to starting on January 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's the last speaker we have signed up. Open it up to the board for a discussion or a motion. Supervisor Gould, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we can get Tara Acton, the procurement director, to come up and explain the process that she used to determine this.
Afternoon, Tara.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Supervisor Gould. Thank you for the opportunity yet again to educate the public on the procurement process. So I was listening as different speakers were speaking, and I think all of the information that they shared is accurate. This contract will be replacing a contract that's been in place since 1988. Before that, there was not a landfill at that site. The contract initially contemplated construction of the landfill in operation, and through a process of 47, essentially, construction change orders, they've continued to operate it. And so actually, when I came back as the procurement director, it was something that I had conversations with then Development Services Director Tim Walsh, that it was a great contract since 1988, but there were old terms and conditions in it. There were things that maybe weren't fully protecting the county. And because it was done in 1988, it was done before there was even a centralized procurement division. And so we weren't managing the contract day to day. We weren't managing renewals. That all fell on staff. And so working with now the director, Scott, and then the environmental quality division, we about a year ago really started scoping this and saying, what does it look like for the county moving forward to have landfill operations? And some of the things that have been problematic in the past, again, because this was a construction and operation contract, is that it wasn't always clear who was responsible for funding construction, making sure that the landfill itself was, each renewal was kind of made based on the expected life of the landfill from that point to the end of the renewal. And then when we were over capacity, it was always kind of not entirely sure who was going to be responsible for funding expansions, construction, landfill gas, all of those things. And so we went through a process. This separates out and clarifies responsibilities for improvements to the landfill being on the county and in accordance with Title 34. It puts the gas remediation under the operation of the operator. We went out to bid for gas remediation in 2018 when it became a necessity based on the landfill's gas. And that has been operated under a different contract, which also has caused some of the issues that were discussed where we almost had notice of findings, things like that. And so this kind of pulls it all into one place. The evaluation, so sorry, I'm all over, went through a similar process as the medical examiner where we put together a scope with feedback from engineers and staff within development services. And then we pushed that out for people to make offers. We had committee or pre-submittal meetings. We had a landfill site walk in the middle of June. And then ultimately a committee of 5 scored the proposals. We got responses from both Gamby and Republic. And ultimately Gamby's the top scoring proposal based on their overall qualifications and experience and their method of approach. Pricing necessarily isn't a factor in this evaluation because the pricing is set by the fees established by the board. People pay fees to take trash to the landfill, and then it's a matter of how do they operate using the fees that are collected and approved by our board. I hope I answered your question. If you have any other direct questions.
Not at this time.
Supervisor Martin, thank you.
Tara, don't run off. Do you have the scores of the evaluation by the committee?
I do. Let me, and it was provided as backup. Let me scroll through this. And I recently changed laptops, so I'm a little slower on this one. So give me just a moment. So the overall scores, this is averaging the scores of the 5 evaluators. Total score for Gamby 360 was 88.4 out of 100 total points. Total for Mesa Disposal, which is Republic, was 77 out of 100 points. Gamby got 35.6 compared to Mesa's 31.4 for their method of approach. And then they got 31.4 compared to Mesa's 25 for equipment and operations plan. And then for qualifications and experience, they were very close. Gamby with 21.4 and Mesa Disposal of 20.6.
Thank you.
Other comment? Tara, since you're out there, I'll ask one question. And maybe I'm not understanding the exact type of contract this is, but when I'm looking at this, it says an initial contract term of 7 years, and then there's an option to renew the contract for up to 2 additional 4-year periods. So altogether, if everything goes really, really smoothly, you're looking at a potential 15-year contract. Is that allowable under the Mojave County Procurement Code and Arizona Procurement Code? I mean, I've always thought that for most contracts, you see a maximum of a 5-year period without having to go through a competitive process.
Thank you, Chairman.
And to build on that, I'd also like to know if interviews were used because of potentially such a long contract.
So thank you for the question. The general guidance is that most services we try to limit to 5 years, but we can make a determination to enter into long-term contracts when there may be a substantial investment of resources, time, money in order to provide a service. Another example of where the county has a longer-term contract is jet ski rental. So if it requires or may require an investment, we can go longer than 5 years. And so when we were looking at this, we were saving 7 years. Again, if after 7 years we think we should recompete this, things have changed, maybe something else is different in the market, any investment made to get operations going, especially if we weren't selecting an incumbent, they should be able to recoup any of their own investment, realizing that they didn't get to give us a cost proposal that would say this is what it'll cost us to start up. They have to operate within the fees that we have, and then giving the option for up to 2 4-year renewals. Essentially, again, this contract's now been in place for 37 years, if my math is correct. We don't want another 30-year landfill agreement, but just given the nature of what they have to do, 15 years seemed like a reasonable potential full term of the contract.
Yeah.
And then we did not do interviews, and interviews are always an option, and we would leave that up to the committee if they wanted to do interviews. Based on the variation of scoring, the 88.4 to 77, it wasn't like they were within points of each other and we needed another step to determine who the best offer to the county was.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Open it up to the board for additional discussion or a motion. Do you have any other discussion points or entertain a motion? I'm going to call one more time. If I don't, I think it just fails for lack of a motion. I mean, is that legally the way to go here, Attorney Davis? I mean, I'll make one more third call for a motion. If it doesn't, no one offers a motion, then what do we do?
In the intervening time, I will investigate.
Well, I think it just dies for lack of a motion, doesn't it?
A motion will go.
Supervisor Martin.
Yes, I'm going to make the motion that we approve this. And the reasoning being is the scoring. That's a significant difference between the scoring that was explained to us. So, and, just like so many things that come before us, we have to rely on staff to give us their best opinion, because it's not something that any of us deal with on a daily basis. So based upon the scoring presented by staff, I'll make the motion that we approve the contract with GAMBI.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Ayes appear to have it, do have it, so ordered. We'll move to item number 44. Adopt resolution number 2025-175, authorizing in accordance with the county adopted manual on uniform traffic control devices and Arizona revised statutes, the installation of all-way stop control at the following intersections along East Mountain View Road: 1, El Rodeo Drive; 2, Hammer Lane; and 3, Lipan Boulevard in the Fort Mojave area. Supervisor Gould, you pulled this. We have one person that's signed up to speak.
If I can get Director Latosky to come up. Oh, you're already there. Good job. I thought our plan for Mountain View was to make that a thoroughfare. Are we going to remove the stop signs that stop the Mountain View traffic at a future date?
Chairman Lingenfelter, Supervisor Gould, no, this is a traffic engineering study that concluded that the all-way stops be considered and installed at the intersections of Mountain View at El Rodeo, Hammer Lane, as well as Lip Boulevard. There is one currently at Joy Lane.
Okay. Yeah, I would think that Mountain View would work better without stop signs on it. And I thought that this might be, you might have to train the driving motorist to stop on those, since we're going to essentially be doing a 180 on traffic control.
Currently, the side streets are stopped. These are two-way stop control intersections with Mountain View not stopped. And the engineering crashes as well as the data that are suggesting consideration of always stop control at these three intersections. I should also point out this has always been intended to be a lower speed road. It's posted 30 miles per hour. Speeds do suggest otherwise are a little higher. And there's also a plethora of residential driveways.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
We do have one person that's signed up to speak. Mr. Scotty McClure, if you'd like to come to the podium. Thank you.
Scotty from Bullhead. Yeah, I also thought this was going to be a thoroughfare all the way to the Parkway in Bullhead. I tried to get them to remove 2 stop signs going up Corwin Drive, but the city council's too stupid to even think about it. And that's where Toby Carter lives, or King. So he doesn't want people going up his road. This is supposed to be a thoroughfare. They just did one in Bullhead, but we just bought a golf course, so now we got to put in a stop sign down there on Country Club Drive. People don't know it's there. You got snowbirds coming from Mountain View down to Bullhead City. I'm including Bullhead on this discussion. But you got snowbirds that only come here once a year, and they're going to blow through these places. It's 35 miles an hour on, I believe, on Mountain View, all the way through, until you get to Corwin where it's 25. It's supposed to make life a lot easier. I take this road quite a bit on Mountain View. How about anybody thought about roundabouts? I hadn't been to Prescott or Sedona when I was working down there since 85 or so, and they have put in a lot of them. They're 2-lane roundabouts. We only need 1-lane roundabouts on some of these roads. Especially down there in Lippin, you got room. You might have to buy some property or condemnation or whatever. This is supposed to be a thoroughfare. You're going to have people blowing through these where you're going to put these stop signs. I noticed, yeah, it's just stupid. How about, think about roundabouts. The state used to pay for these roundabouts. They did down there in Prescott and Sedona, and it's so much better down there in Sedona with all the traffic now that's down there. They've improved that area so much. It's night and day. I just went through there. It's night and day. I don't even recognize that town anymore, but the traffic flows through there very nicely compared to what it used to be with all their stupid stop signs.
That's the only speaker we had. I'd open it up to the board for additional discussion or a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Gould, thank you.
I get Director Latasi to come back up. When we make a change like that, we put some other form of notification up near that intersection to condition people that they're going to have to stop?
Chairman Lingenfelter, Supervisor Gould, yes, there's going to be not only flags on the stop signs themselves indicating that there's traffic control, but there's also a change of traffic control sign.
Sure. And most of those intersections would not, roundabouts, we don't have the space for roundabouts on most of those, I would think.
Correct. Just my totally off the cuff thought here, and I know that corridor rather well. I don't think we would have a sufficient right of way.
And I still think only traffic engineers love roundabouts.
I would agree. Some do.
The general public fears roundabouts. So,
and if I may, Chairman Lingenfelter, Supervisor Gould, I'll just make one comment. These are all good comments, good discussion on this matter. Mountain View Road does serve a primary purpose of providing for more direct access to residential developments where people don't have to zigzag to State Route 95 and back. So we're going to see a lot of turning movements from State Route 95 to Mountain View, and then persons being able to access their residences or places where their destinations via Mountain View Road. But there's still going to be a lot of that side road use, if you will, versus Mountain View. People are going to have to get to Mountain View Road via side road, and then they'll use it as in that thoroughfare type notion.
Sure. And there's residences that are on Mountain View, so we really don't want the speed to get too excessive.
That was the caveat with us with the speed.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Manager Elders.
Really quick, if I may, SR 95 is congested, is getting more congested. Our vision for Mountain View was to truly facilitate alternative routes and provide for a contiguous route as an alternate to SR 95. That is truly what it is being developed as. We often think of other corridors, and we use terms like thoroughfares and such, and while they do exist and they serve a good function, unless you plan it that way, Chairman and board member, it's hard to convert something that is already existing into a thoroughfare. And so when you have multiple minor intersections as well as driveways, it makes it challenging to allow for thoroughfare, which provides for higher speed and non-stopping. In the long, in the long vision, this provide for a calmer and perhaps a safer travel on Mountain View as a result of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager. Supervisor Martin, thank you.
Yeah, the stop signs that are going to be put up, are those lighted ones, the flashing ones?
Chairman Lingenfelter, Supervisor Martin, no, we will not do the LED embedded flashing stop signs. We do use those very tactfully in other situations where we may have a higher speed road that perhaps is not stop controlled over an extended distance, and when a stop sign usually intersecting other county highway is approaching, we have turned to that as a very effective alerting motorists.
Yeah, I like them. I mean, it's amazing how you can be driving and all of a sudden you see those and you realize, whoa, there's a stop sign there. So I just wondered if this is for safety, why we wouldn't put those lighted ones in there.
That's a great question, and really why we wouldn't do it in this case is these are lower speed roads to begin with, Mountain View Road being only 30 miles an hour, and basically the urban type nature of the corridor there would not necessarily conjure a motorist approaching that intersection really not being aware that there's no stop. So the cost factor does play into this, so we have to be strategic. It's about 10 times the cost of a standard stop sign for a lighted stop.
Well, I understand that the cost is there, but I value human life more than anything. And if it's better and more effective, then I question why we wouldn't do it. But I understand dollars and cents, and that'd be my thought.
Mr. Chairman.
Manager Elterson.
If I also may add to what you heard from Steve, it isn't just the cost, Supervisor Martin, it's the consistency, it's the standards with which we put up these stop signs. Unless it's warranted, as you heard from the director, to put up the special lighted stop sign, we don't. If we start installing them when they're not warranted, then there's mixed messages, and you might as well put them up everywhere, because otherwise we're signaling to the driver probably different messages. Right now, if the visibility of the stop sign is there, because the height is there and so on, then it's really not warranted. And it's not just the cost, but it's the consistent standards with which we do.
It's all formula driven, isn't it?
I'm sorry, Chairman?
It's all formula driven, isn't it? Traffic counts and all those types of things.
Indeed, and design speed and actual speeds and so on. Mr. Chairman, yeah, it is the multiple factors that go into it.
Any additional discussion? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion on item number 44.
Motion to approve.
Heard that motion. Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, ayes appear to have it, do have it. So ordered. Thank you. We have two public hearings this morning. First item, number 47, discussion in public, I'll open the public hearing. Adopt resolution number 2025-176 to abandon an unnamed roadway as petitioned by applicant Shelley Blanchard, owner of APN 402-61-257, within Virgin Acres in the Beaver Dam, Arizona area, being an unimproved 25-foot wide by 70-foot long, 0.04 acre, more or less unnamed roadway, wholly contained by said APN, Township 41 North, Range 15 West, Tract 1, Blocks 217, Lots 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, and 10, of said Virgin Acres subdivision, and further approve accepting the offer of purchase from the owner for the total appraised amount of $3,354.00, $3,354.00, which equals the full appraised value as provided by an Arizona licensed appraiser, to be deposited in the Highway User Revenue Fund 205 account, and authorize the chairman of the Board of Supervisors to sign the attached quitclaim deed, which conveys the abandoned portion of the right-of-way to the abutting parcel owner, Shelley A. Blanchard. We have nobody signed up to speak on item number 47. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak during the public hearing on item number 47? Going once? Going twice? I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you. I'm going to make a motion to approve item number 47. For that motion, second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes appear to have it. Do have it. So ordered. Thank you. We'll open up the public hearing on our second public hearing of the day. Item number 48, discussion, possible action, approve the adoption of BOS resolution number 2025-151, a resolution establishing a $10 fee for every writ served on behalf of a justice of the peace by a constable in civil actions, and to require the monies collected from the writ fees to be deposited in the Constable Ethics Standards and Training Fund. We have one person that has signed up to speak during call to the public. Mr. Scotty McClure, if you'd like to come to the podium. On this item during call to the public? Or would you like to speak during the item? Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Sorry, Scotty. Go ahead.
Scotty from Bullhead. Yeah, I see our constables here, so I was talking to him earlier and learned, since I didn't get any backup, I don't know if there is any backup. But apparently this is for landlords' evictions only. Not if I wanted to sue my neighbor for the trees or whatever. So I don't see this hurting anybody. The landlord's already been hurt by enough by having several months' rent not paid to him. But it's not going to affect many people. I wonder how many evictions a year there are in this county. So how much is that times whatever? It's only going to go up. I mean, everything else has gone up. Every utility, every city has raised all their rates, their sewer and water. So why not get the landlords? That's why I own my property. Me and landlords don't get along. Now this is going through, you don't pay them for pagers, travel, they use their own cars to go to, training and stuff. So this is not much, but they're going to get out of this anyway. But I mean, you guys get compensated. I know in Bullhead they get paid $75 to fatten up for meals, and boy, do they use it. There's something else when I put a public records request in, how much it costs for 7 board members to go somewhere. It's atrocious. But this seems like this can really help them out. Or maybe providing them with like travel or something like that. They don't even have pagers. Can't you provide a 1995 flip phone that I have? That's something else. You guys, I know, I think the wages are made down in Phoenix probably. I don't know, why they're paid so little to have a gun put in their face. But I know I wouldn't do it because I'd shoot back.
Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak during call to the public on item number 48? Come on down. State your name.
Stephen Robinson, Golden Valley. I'm glad Scotty and I can agree on a couple things. I've been hearing from former board members about how all these constables do is just deliver eviction notices. No, they do a lot more. They do the service of the county for criminal complaints. They serve papers for other things that the county or that the justice of the peace. And I don't think $10 is an awful price to ask, help pay for their training and travel if that's necessary. So I do support this as well because it's just a reasonable step, a small, minor step. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak during the public hearing on item number 48? Going once, going twice. I'll close the public hearing on number 48. Open it up to the board.
Move to approve item 48 as read.
Thank you, Supervisor. Do we have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes appear to have it, do have it, so ordered. Brings us to our regular agenda. We've covered 49, 50 was pulled, 51 was pulled, 52 was pulled. We received an update in executive session on number 53. It was for information only. And we've covered number 54. So that brings us to call to the public. Stephen Robinson.
Chairman Langenfelter, supervisors. 2 years ago this week, I contacted AWR's David McKay, head of Assured and Adequate Water. He confirmed to me that GVID has 2,350 acre-feet of water, not the 1,400 that the county currently believes they have or is using. But that amount of water is 7 to 8 times the amount of water they're using right now. Yet, and McKay said that until GVID is pumping 2 homes 2,350 acre-feet of water, they don't need another adequate water supply or another designation. Unfortunately, the county is allocating 4,000 water rights to people that don't want them, that haven't asked for them in the 30-plus years since the designation. In fact, it was in 1990 that the Policies and Procedure Manual says there's only 5,010 hookups or rights to water. Instead, the county is reserving 950 acre-feet, which is about the same as 4,600 new connections. If they started acknowledging that they had this 950 more acre-feet, that would mean we could sell water rights to people, 5,000 total, not the 400 we claim we have now. We could sell them at $1,000 a piece and raise $5 million in a very short order, because there'd be a lot of people that can afford to buy the right to water and then pay for the service connection another $1,500. But the only people buying water rights now in Golden Valley is those that can afford it, specifically Angle Homes. I met with Supervisor or Director Latosky and Manager Elters in November after I went to meet with McKay, Mr. McKay. And what did they do after meeting with me? And I told them we had so much more water. They ignored it. They instead jacked up the rates to $10 per 1,000 cubic feet. What happened to that was the amount of water went down 10%. So much for raising more revenue. And I have a question. This 950 acre feet they say is for the future. When is the future? Next decade? Next century? Next millennium? We have that water right since 1995. If we use that, we could easily grow we could raise millions more than the current plan, and we would triple to quadruple the amount of service connections and water raising. But at the price of $6,000, we're hurting the development in Golden Valley. Thank you. I'd ask the supervisors closest to do some more investigation.
Thank you, sir. Harold Smith, Bob Horn, speaking together.
Council Chairman and supervisors, Bob and I are here representing the Veterans in Motion. We thank the county for the support that we've received in the past, getting the 2 vehicles that we use to transport our veterans to their medical appointments. We cover pretty much the area in the tri-state area there and go all the way up to Las Vegas VA hospital up there. And we are constantly getting more calls, and we're reaching a point where the 2 vehicles that we have are not enough to provide the service that we need to provide. We have numerous volunteers that use their own private vehicles, and we're running into some issues with that too. So what we're proposing is see if we could possibly get some additional support from the county and come up with one more vehicle. Bob has some information here he'd like to ask.
Let me say something first. I'm a Korean vet, and we have almost 40,000 vets in Mojave County. And we put together a newsletter here. We're going to go out in December to all the vets and to help them. As far as the third vehicle, we need that. We need to make more trips to Vegas. And we have 12 drivers, but we need that vehicle. We got a price here. We gave you a little packet. You can look it over and get back to us. But basically, we're looking for $56,983.50 to buy that third vehicle to transport vets. It has a wheelchair lift and all the good stuff that goes with it. So your help would really be fine. And one last thing, we will be getting back to you after the first of the year. We have a second nonprofit called Tri-State Veterans Resource Center. City's got leased land for us, about 2.1 acres, where we will be putting a Tri-State Veterans Resource Center there. It'll be one-stop shopping for vets, but more about that later. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Esposito. Scotty McClure, you're on deck.
Thank you, Jennifer Esposito. Kingman, I am so glad that Supervisor Borelli asked Mr. Hassett point blank if he had divested himself from all of his conflict of interest holdings. So I'm going to ask you to put this on the next agenda for reconsideration in light of the fact that publicly available documents show that he sold his funeral homes to a company called FPG Arizona LLC. And as of the October 7th, 2025 statement of change filing, Mr. Hassett is a member of that company, therefore benefiting by the contract you just gave him, ostensibly. All right? Appears that he lied to your faces. Just saying. So you might want to think about that before the ink dries, okay? Also, I would like to state that the actions of employees paid for by the taxpayers are within the purview of this board. So when I come to the call to the public, and I have something to say, I don't think we should rely on Chairman Lingenfelter's psychic prognostication abilities to decide whether or not what I intend to say is within the purview of this board. Kind of like Candace Owens and the Charlie Kirk assassination, right? I bring the receipts. And when this dais, this microphone, this building is used to impugn my professional reputation as an investigative journalist, I do take that personally. But I have the receipts. And I filed additional public records requests. And I have another one pending. But those records requests showed that internal communications acknowledged that it was a conflict of interest for the county prosecutor or the county sheriff to be investigating the rape allegation made against a chairman through the county web portal. The thing that also stood out to me in the last round of documents was that because the woman that made the allegation answered me but did not answer the sheriff, they decided they would go ahead and instruct the sheriff to, in a letter to your criminal defense attorney, Mr. Chairman Lingenfelter, so you know.
Is this germane to the business of the county?
Yes, it is. How the county internal policy by paid-for employees handles the allegation of a criminal act is absolutely within the purview of this board. So what I'm trying to say is...
There's been no charges, ma'am. What are you saying?
I'm talking about the internal investigation, and you're interrupting and taking my time. I'm the recognized speaker.
Chairman, I'm allowed to
you
ask
can
you
rebut when I'm
questions.
done with my 3 minutes, and you're doing it again.
Go ahead.
Now, the last email so, which came, I believe, from Elters, Mr. Esplin to Mr. Elters, said that the vehicles would be released. And we have only one investigation done poorly, not by the criminal investigation unit either. Where is his vehicles? Now we're talking vehicles plural. I'm being very confused by all of this. Thank you.
Scotty McClure.
Scotty from Bullhead again. Our newspaper, the Mojave Valley, whatever, our stupid communist newspaper in Bullhead, has gone to 1 day a week. I'm asking that you guys, the board, provide us with online services at the libraries. It's called free. I don't have a newspaper anymore. I've been reading newspapers since I was a little kid. I started out with the comics just like every other little kid. But I missed my newspaper. And hell, I didn't even know that there was a kidnapping in Rotary Park going on. I just found out about it. I should be informed that something's going on next to my house. This is bull. You guys need to provide us with online services, just like every one of you 5 people secretaries have access to online services, all 3, Lake Havasu, Kingman, and Bullhead. You have a set price, which you were able to, I know it costs you an arm and a leg to have all 3 subscriptions, the actual newspaper, but you consolidated them. You can do that to all 4 libraries. I think I'm including Fort Mojave too. I don't know what it takes to run a line in there, how you're getting this in there. But you need to provide it for me and everybody that doesn't do these stupid cell phones, smartphones, or whatever they're called. I got a name for them, but I just said stupid phones, didn't I? And you need to fix this hearing in these courthouses. Damn it! I've been to 5 different trials, and I can't hear half of what's going on in there. I'm going to the Attorney General in that stupid place there at that kangaroo court in Bullhead. But I'm also including your four trials that I've been to that didn't have anything to do with me. Wasn't me they were convicting. But I couldn't hear half of the stuff going on. And that's bull. That I can't hear what the judge is saying. Well, actually, I can hear the judges usually because I'm face-to-face with them, even sitting in the audience here. I sit with them. I have to sit in front of these speakers in the right spots, and it don't help much. I've been up here. There's one in Bullhead Superior Court. I was hearing this thing, and it didn't come out very good either. You need to do something because I'm going to the thing called Attorney General on this here in about a month. So, on proposition that number 49, you guys passed. 3 new board members were ill-informed. I think, it's really weird that all 3 new board members didn't listen to what was really going on compared to these 2 that voted yes.
Harmon Stange.
Good morning, Chairman, Supervisors. Armin Stanger, aka the German from Fort Mojave. We have a big problem with squatters. On the west side of Patina and Camp Mojave, there's now 2 motorhomes sitting there, and she is collecting junk like there's no tomorrow. It started off with 1 motorhome, then she brought in another one. She lives in the car and has the 2 motorhomes just for storage. I don't know why, but it is the way it is. And the other thing is right turns from all sorts of roads into Highway 95. We're having problems with people looking at you straight ahead, 20 feet away from you. They pull out right in front of you. You know, we need to stop those right turns. It is getting dangerous on 95. It seems to be a sport running red lights, stop signs, whatever. That it's a sport there. And I don't understand why the sheriff's department isn't doing anything about it. I mean, once in a blue moon, you hear the sirens in the mornings, about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, pulling someone over. They should be sitting out there all day long and pull people over. Why doesn't the sheriff's department have a traffic unit? I mean, he has people. You know, they could do traffic control. And then, I mean, the ongoing problem, Cavalry Road. Mr. Latowski put up a stop sign. People don't even see the stop sign. They don't give a damn about stop signs out there. I mean, I'm sorry for the damn, but, you know, it is what it is. And something needs to be done about that road. Every time it's graded, it's a racetrack. You know, quit grading the road. Keep it the way it is. Keep it dilapidated. That slows people down. Not even the school buses care about the speed limit there. They do 35, 40 with kids on the bus. What's going to happen when someone drives out of a property and they have to stop? Where's that going to go? It's not going well. I can guarantee you that. So, thank you.
We are adjourned.